Chapter 45-41. Chin Chu answered for Huamin, our wedding is cancelled. Ha! Cancelled? Han Yueyao was surprised. Yeah. We've been together since we were young. After all these years, we've relied on each other and experienced so much together. We've become an inseparable part of each other's lives. So, it doesn't matter to us whether we have a wedding or not. Mr. Chin cleverly avoided the topic of the wedding. Chin Chu knew it wasn't the best time to have a wedding. Huamin was still grieving over Su Yu's coma. What would the Su family think if they had a big wedding at this time? What would their friends think? Sure enough, Huamin was satisfied with Chin Chu's answer. She glanced at Chin Chu gratefully and didn't speak. President Chin is right. I really envy childhood sweethearts like you. Okay, Sister Mian, rest early. I'll come to see you another day. Han Yueyao sat for a while and then stood up to leave. After Han Yueyao left, Chin Chu returned to the ward and sat down on the bed. Are you hungry? Do you want me to cook something for you? Chin Chu looked at Huamin tenderly. Huamin didn't speak. She reached out her hands and hugged Chin Chu's neck tightly. Honey, thank you. Silly girl, you don't have to thank me. You're fine. That's more important than anything else. Chin Chu knew Huamin was thanking him for what he did. He gently patted her back to comfort her. 1 month later, Huamin's confinement was also Chin Yuyao's 1-month-old birthday. South Hill Manor hadn't been so lively in a long time. With lanterns and streamers everywhere, it was even livelier than during the New Year. Everyone came to congratulate them, including the Su family. Lord Su was in a good mood and wouldn't let go of the baby. Mr. Su drank a few more glasses of wine and even sang a Peking opera for everyone. Rick hugged his and Cece's daughter and turned into a daughter slave. Huamin's figure recovered rapidly after a month. She had already slimmed down from 128 pounds to 96 pounds. She wore an elegant yellow dress and a striped jacket, looking calm and elegant. Rick, her name is Little Aujin, right? Huamin looked at the baby in Rick's arms. Yes, just like in the dream. She took Cece's surname and her full name is Niejin. Rick said. Do you want to be in-laws with us? Huamin laughed. Chin Chu mentioned it to me before, but I rejected him, Rick replied proudly. Huamin chuckled. Why did you reject us? Little Jean is only a few days away from our Yuyao, and they're of the same social status. I think my daughter's eyes are bigger than your son's. Rick refused. Alright, you win. Huamin laughed until tears rolled down his cheeks. Time could heal all wounds. On such a joyous day, no one mentioned Suyu again. En and Master Wu were also afraid of spoiling the fun, so they didn't attend the 1-month-old banquet. In the afternoon, while everyone was having afternoon tea in the room, Huamin held a champagne glass and walked to the balcony on the top floor, looking at the scenery in the distance. Mommy, you're thinking about him, aren't you? Huamin turned around when she heard the voice and saw Pudding dressed up. Why aren't you taking a nap? Huamin didn't answer her daughter's question. Instead, she looked at her gently. I can't sleep. Mommy, I miss him a lot. What about you? Me too. Huamian squeezed out a smile, but there was a hint of bitterness in her smile. Then, Pudding continued in her childish voice, Dream Chaser said that death isn't scary, forgetting is. So we'll always remember him, right? Yes, Huamin said and downed the champagne in her hand. Mommy, I want to ask you a question on his behalf. Upon hearing this, Huamian tilted her head and looked at her daughter in surprise. Then, she heard Pudding ask in a serious tone, all these years. Have you ever loved him? Even a little? In the end, Pudding saw that her mother didn't say anything, but the corners of her mouth curled up slightly. Chapter 45-42. At the Sue family's old residence. After the mysterious death of a certain military chief, Old Master Sue retired early to recuperate. Although the higher-ups had invited him many times, the old master refused. After losing his beloved grandson, he seemed to have aged a lot overnight. No matter how majestic he used to be, he only wanted to live in seclusion. "Dad, Master Wu is here," Lady Sue knocked on the door and said softly. "Let him in." Master Lord Sue put down the teacup in his hand. Master Wu was wearing a green sweatshirt and an expensive bracelet from Su Yu. Overall, Master Wu was much cleaner and tidier than before. Perhaps it was a habit he had developed after coming to Sea City. After Master Wu entered, he nodded slightly at the old master. "Sit." Lady Sue knew that the old master must have something important to say to Master Wu, so she left. In the study of the Sue family's old residence. At first, the old master was just chatting with Master Wu, but then, the two of them almost finished a pot of Longjing tea. Finally, Master Lord Sue said, "Little Wu, I know you're quite capable. Otherwise, my arrogant grandson wouldn't be willing to kowtow and acknowledge you as his master. No, no. Just think of me as a swindler." Master Wu smiled mischievously. "To be honest, you should know why I called you here today." "I know. It's about Su Yu." Master Wu knew very well. Su Yu's matter had become a thorn in the Su family's heart. Su Yu's coma had become everyone's injury. Seeing that he had made it so clear, Lord Su nodded. "That's right, it's about you. Old Master. With all due respect, I really can't save Su Yu. Maybe there's such an expert in this world, but my ability is limited. Even if you exhaust me to death, I can't find an exit to get Su Yu out. I'm really sorry." Before the old master could speak, Master Wu explained everything. Su Yu had been in a coma for more than a year. Min's second child could already walk. For more than a year, everyone went to see Su Yu almost every week, as if he was really asleep. Min insisted on going every week. He would talk to Su Yu alone for a while. Sometimes she would bring the twins, and sometimes she would carry her second child. And Master Wu had been living in Su Yu's private villa and couldn't bear to leave, even though they knew that Su Yu wouldn't wake up. In the past year or so, almost everyone had asked Master Wu this question. This included Min. She had even said that she wanted to accompany Su Yu in his dreams. But Master Wu was really helpless. When Su Yu entered the dream for the second time, Master Wu had already warned him seriously and told him all the consequences. However, Su Yu still did it without any regrets. He knew what the consequences would be, but he still did it. This was his own choice. It was understandable that everyone wanted to save him. However, Master Wu really couldn't do it, so he felt that it was better to talk things out when the old master wanted to see him alone. "Don't give everyone hope, Wu, you might have misunderstood. I didn't ask you to come here today to save you. I know you don't have the ability, so I won't make things difficult for you." "Old Master, then you are." Master Wu was a little surprised as he looked at the white-haired old man. "I actually want to ask you a question, go ahead. If Yu dies in the real world, then, will his soul leave the dream?" Master Lord Su asked word by word with a heavy expression. Master Wu was shocked when he heard this. "Old Master, what do you mean?" Chapter 45-43. Master Lord Su glanced at Master Wu. "Answer my question first." "Old Master, to be honest, I don't know if it will happen. But the situation is like this. Su Yu isn't dead yet, he's just unconscious. You can think of it as his body is still there, but his soul is imprisoned in the nightmare world. That place is extremely desolate, and Suyu is alone there. He won't age or die there. He can't leave. And if Suyu's body is gone, or if he's dead, then he will be completely dead in the dream. As for the person who died in the nightmare, I don't know where his soul went. Of course, one thing is for sure. After he dies, his soul shouldn't belong to the dream world anymore, so what you're saying is, if we don't do anything and let you stay unconscious like this, he might be trapped forever. We're guarding a soulless body, and we might never see hope. But if he dies, there might be a different ending. Old master, you have to think twice. I know what you want to do, but the problem now is Suyu isn't dead, and his body is still there. Maybe when the time comes, or if he meets an expert, he might be able to be saved, but he might never wake up and be in a vegetative state forever, the old man interrupted. Master Wu said hurriedly, but if he really dies, then he'll disappear forever. His body won't be there, and his soul won't be there either. You and Suyu will have nothing to do with each other anymore. Whether he reincarnates or transmigrates to his previous life. In short, Suyu will completely disappear from this world. I know, the old man lowered his head and said solemnly. Old master, you're not thinking of. Master Wu seemed to have guessed what the old man was thinking. That's what I think. I don't want to see you live like a piece of trash for the rest of his life. I'd rather start a new life for him. Even if he has nothing to do with me from now on and is no longer a member of the Su family. I don't want him to be alone in that barren place for the rest of his life. Compared to death, endless loneliness is scarier, isn't it? The old man's words shocked Master Wu so much that he couldn't say a word. As expected of an elder, as expected of a great figure. He had led soldiers for a lifetime, and his bones were firm and unyielding. Master Wu understood that in this world, the person who doted on Suyu the most was probably the old master. He loved Suyu more than anyone else, but it was because of this love that he could not watch his grandson become a vegetable for the rest of his life. Therefore, he was willing to part with his treasures. Then, do Yu's parents agree? After a while, Master Wu asked this question. I will discuss this matter with them. I called you here today to ask about the final result. If you put it that way, it's true. Although the method is a little cruel, it's undeniable that this is a method that isn't really a method. Perhaps, it's really better than him being in a vegetative state for the rest of his life. The night after Master Wu left, Master Lord Su called everyone over for a meeting. Everyone related to Suyu was present. Hua Min, Qin Chu, Teng Chuan, Qin Ning, Wei Liao, Jiang Xiaowei, Gao Ran, and Zhu Lingling. Other than Cici and the children, who were brought to the United States by Rick, everyone else was here. Master Lord Su, everyone is here. You can announce it now. Qin Chu knew that Lord Su had something important to announce. Otherwise, he wouldn't have gathered so many people. The old man looked around and sighed slightly. I plan to euthanize you. His words shocked the entire crowd. Chapter 45-44. Master Lord Su, why? Hua Min was almost crying. Everyone was thinking about how to save Suyu, but Master Lord Su wanted to euthanize him. Was he still his biological grandfather? Hua Min's question was indeed what everyone wanted to ask. Mian, don't be rash. Listen to Lord Su first. Qin Chu was the most rational. Although Lord Su was old, he wasn't muddle-headed at all. He had been high and mighty his entire life. What big decision had he not made? Why would he harm his grandson for no reason? Therefore, when everyone fell silent again, Lord Su repeated what he had said to Master Wu today. After hearing this, everyone fell silent again. Jiang Shaowei calmed down first and asked, Master Lord Su, can you really be so heartless? Master Lord Su looked at everyone and said slowly, when I think about you being alone in that desolate place, I wish I was a heartless grandfather. So, today's decision wasn't rash. It's been a year. Everyone wants him to wake up, but we all know that he won't wake up. If this continues, year after year. Even if I die and you guys get old, you might not see the day he wakes up. When I think about him being alone in that place, my heart hurts. There's no grandfather in this world who doesn't love his grandson. I feel 100 times worse than you guys when I make this decision, but I have to make a prompt decision. After Lord Su finished speaking, no one said anything because they didn't know what to say. Huamin was already sobbing softly on Qin Chu's body. After giving birth to her second child, Huamin had been suffering from postpartum depression for a long time. Fortunately, Qin Chu accompanied her day and night. Only then did she slowly walk out of the shadows. However, she still didn't dare to mention Su Yu's name. This became her biggest weakness. Now that Lord Su wanted to euthanize Su Yu, it was equivalent to killing Su Yu. Although Su Yu hadn't woken up yet, his physical body was still there. At the very least, it gave everyone something to think about. However, if the patient was euthanized, the corpse would be cremated according to the rules of the family of a high-ranking official. Then, he was buried in the cemetery in the northern suburbs. At that time, Su Yu would really not be able to come back. Or, he would completely disappear from this world. Seeing that no one was speaking, he felt extremely sad. Mr. Su took off his glasses and wiped away his tears. As Yu's father, I have to say a few words. I understand that everyone is good to him and can't bear to part with him. Grandpa loves his grandson, and you all know that. Although my father's decision is cruel, logically speaking, it might be Yu's last chance. So, I hope that everyone can agree and give us some strength so that we can make this decision and give you his final release. After hearing this, Lady Su fainted on the ground from crying. Huamin quickly helped Lady Su up and sent her to her room to rest like the nanny. After returning from the Su family, Huamin's heart was extremely heavy. He didn't say a word along the way and just kept looking out of the car window. Mian, if you don't want to, I'll talk to Lord Su later. Qin Chu knew that Huamin didn't want Su Yu to be euthanized. Don't. Since Lord Su has already made his decision, we shouldn't interfere. After all, this is the best way for Su Yu. Huamin tried hard to hold back his tears, but his heart was already filled with devastation. Chapter 45-45. The day Su Yu was euthanized was the beginning of May. Spring was already blooming in Sea City in the north, inside Su Yu's private mansion. Everyone was wearing black formal attire to send him off for the last time. Looking at Su Yu, who was still unconscious on the bed, Huamin had mixed feelings. Why don't I do it? Seeing that Huamin's heart softened and she couldn't do it, Qin Chu wanted to snatch the needle from her hand. Unexpectedly, Huamin dodged. The twins were taken out by Qin Chu's parents to play and avoided this scene. Huamin held a syringe in her hand, her fingers trembling. Master Wu couldn't bear it and turned his head away, not daring to look. Mian, do it. Seeing that Huamin was unwilling to do anything, Lord Su shouted sternly. As expected of someone from the military, he was still bold. It was a military order. Huamin bit her lip. Then, she walked over and lifted Su Yu's arm. She slowly injected the life-or-death drug into Su Yu's blood vessels. Then, everyone saw that Huamin's face was covered in tears. Perhaps no one knew how she felt at this moment. She thought back to many years ago, when she first met Su Yu. Su Yu had strained his ligaments in a car accident and was recuperating at Southside like a boss. At that time, so many young and beautiful nurses were giving Su Yu injections, but they were all chased out by Su Yu. There was even a nurse whose head was smashed by Suyu with an ashtray. The situation was critical, as a nurse, Hwamin had just gone to South Side. She was fearless and was used as a gun. She was sent directly to Suyu's ward. With her courage and skills, she finally convinced Suyu. As a result, Suyu started to have feelings of ignorance towards her. Before meeting Hwamin, Suyu had many women. After meeting Hwamin, Suyu only liked Hwamin. All of this originated from the injection he received in the hospital back then. Now, Hwamin gave Suyu the final injection, hoping to end his endless loneliness. Everyone hoped that this would allow Suyu to escape from the nightmare. After the needle was inserted, she watched as Suyu's lips gradually turned purple. Hwamin felt his vision darken. Then, he lost consciousness. When Hwamin woke up again, Suyu's funeral had already ended. He was buried in the cemetery in the northern suburbs, a place with great scenery. For a long time, Hwamin didn't dare to go. He didn't dare to face the fact that Suyu was dead. It was about 18 months before Qin Guoguo could speak. When Qin Guoguo learned to speak, Hwamin taught him to speak. Only then did she take the little guy to pay respects to Suyu. Han Yueyao also went to Suyu's funeral. She wore a long black dress. That day, she dressed up beautifully. She had a smile on her face the entire time. She didn't cry. She told herself not to cry. She said that Suyu ended his loneliness and escaped from the dream that trapped him. His soul was freed. This was a good thing, an excellent thing. After Suyu died, the Su family moved. Perhaps they didn't dare to stay, or perhaps they were afraid that everyone would be worried. The Su family all moved to a small town in the south and lived a true rural life. Hwamin and Qin Chu brought the 3 children to visit them every year. And entered Imperial Star and became the bodyguard of Han Yueyao, who was extremely popular, to ensure her safety. Master Wu went to travel the world, and no one knew his whereabouts anymore. In the dream world laying in the desert, Suyu didn't know how much time had passed. He even felt like these days were endless. Until one day, he suddenly felt his body become lighter. Then, he kept ascending, and finally left this place. When he opened his eyes and woke up again, he saw the familiar ceiling. Chapter 45-46. Son, you're awake. You almost scared Mommy to death. The first thing Suyu saw was that the woman leaning over his bed was actually, Mom, why, are you here? Suyu had been used to being alone in the nightmare world for a long time. He thought that he would always be alone. He didn't expect to see his mother when he opened his eyes. What kind of ecstasy was this? Are you stupid? Of course, I heard that you were in a car accident, so I immediately rushed over. Fortunately, you're fine, it's just a ligament strain. Car accident. Ligament strain. Suyu was obviously completely dumbfounded. What was going on? His mother kept chattering, but Suyu didn't have the patience to listen. He just reached out and wrapped his arms tightly around his mother's neck. Mom. I love you, so much. Faced with her son's sudden confession, Lady Su was slightly stunned. Then, she smiled with tears in her eyes and said with relief. You brat, you almost scared me to death. Now that you've died once, you know how precious life is. Let's see if you can still do it in the future. Do you want to play some Wang Ming race? Suyu only smiled and didn't say anything. I didn't dare to tell your grandfather and father about this. Otherwise, they would definitely scold you. Thank you, Mom. Hee hee. You dote on me the most. Alright, you just woke up. Rest well first. I'll go talk to your doctor about your situation, then I'll go home and make you something to eat. What do you want to eat? Sauerkraut dumplings, Suyu said with a cheeky smile. You're greedy. Just you wait, Then, Lady Su walked out of the ward gracefully. Su took a deep breath. What was going on? Wasn't he trapped in the nightmare world? Was he dreaming? That wasn't right. Master Wu said that in the nightmare world, one wouldn't age, die, be hungry, or thirsty. One wouldn't feel anything, just like a living dead. Naturally, he wouldn't be dreaming, so, what was going on? Before he could figure it out, the door was pushed open again. President Su. I heard about what happened to you as soon as I got off the plane. You scared me to death. Are you okay? Where are you hurt? Let me take a look. Just listening to the voice made one's scalp tingle. This coquettish voice was extremely recognizable. Su turned his head. It was indeed Xiao Qingya. She was wearing a pair of brown sunglasses and holding a Hermes platinum bag. She walked over with her hips swaying. Don't touch me. Seeing her reach out to touch his hand, Su hurriedly scolded her. President Su, what's wrong with you? Are you blaming me for being late? This is the earliest flight. Really, I swear I rushed over as soon as I heard about your accident. Xiao Qingya said, sobbing. Su was a little confused. Then, he seemed to have understood something. Xiao Qingya was still alive. And a celebrity at that. He had a ligament strain, car accident? Could it be that he had transmigrated?
He had transmigrated to many years ago, when he first met Huamin. At that thought, Suyu's heart started to race. If it was really this year, he should be able to see Huamin soon. At that thought, Suyu couldn't wait to ask Xiao Qingya, what year is it now? 2016, Xiao Qingya was confused. Is the most advanced phone on the market 6S? Suyu asked excitedly. Xiao Qingya nodded in a daze. Is this Southside Hospital? President Su. What's wrong? Xiao Qingya was scared out of her wits, thinking that Suyu was possessed. Answer me, is this Southside Hospital? Suyu asked anxiously.
Chapter 45-47. Xiao Qingya quickly replied, this is Southside Hospital. President Su, please calm down. Looks like I'm really, Su couldn't suppress his ecstasy. Why did Master Wu say that he would be trapped in a nightmare forever? Wasn't he back now? Could it be that his character was off the charts? President Su, go out first. I want to be alone for a while. President Su, get out. Yes. Seeing President Su's firm attitude, Xiao Qingya didn't dare to continue acting coquettishly. After all, she knew that this young master had a bad temper. After Xiao Qingya wobbled out, Su wanted to get up and look for Huamin. However, his ligament was injured and he couldn't move his legs freely. At this moment, he smartly raised his hand. He pressed the emergency bell beside the bed. After 3 beeps, the phone rang. A young nurse immediately rushed into the ward. Young Master Su, what can I do for you? Where's Huamin? Tell her to come and see me. Suyu felt his heart race. He never dared to think that he would have the chance to see Huamin again. Therefore, when he realized that he was back, the first thing he did was to look for Huamin. As for Tang Chuan and Old Wei, he wasn't in a hurry. He would slowly look for them. After all, they wouldn't be able to run away. Huamin. The nurse was stunned. Don't you have a nurse named Huamin here? There is one, but she's resting today. Tell her to come and see me immediately, Su said excitedly. Young Master Su. Huamin is resting and went home. We don't have the right to ask her to come back. How about, tomorrow, tell your director to come here. Tell your director to come and see me. Hurry up, cut the crap. 15 minutes later. President Wu, who had just finished a meeting, was called to the ward by Su-yu. Then, he made only one request. I want to see Hwa-min immediately, no matter what method you use. President Wu didn't know what relationship Su-yu had with this nurse named Hwa-min. But seeing how anxious and determined the crown prince was, he didn't dare to offend him. Therefore, he immediately called Hwa-min personally. Hwa-min was eating at home. Yang Meirong made scallion pancakes and tomato soup. Hwa-min was only halfway through her meal when she received a call from the director asking her to return to the hospital. Hwa-min reluctantly got up, not forgetting to take a biscuit in his hand before he left. Aren't you resting? Why do you still want to go? Mother asked. The director said that there's an emergency at the hospital. It's okay, Mom, you guys eat first. Don't wait for me to come back, I'll heat it up myself. Sis, be careful, Jishin reminded her. No problem. Because President Wu repeatedly said that it was an emergency, Hwa-min took a taxi and said that the hospital would reimburse the taxi fare. Hwa-min stopped a taxi and went straight to Southside Recuperation Center. When she arrived at Southside, the nurse at the reception desk told her mysteriously, "Hurry up and go to young Master Su's room." Young Master Su. Is he the legendary patient with a bad temper? Hwa-min was confused and didn't have time to change into her white coat. Today, she wore a white casual jacket. Inside, she wore a simple short-sleeved t-shirt, a pair of light blue jeans, and Converse flats. She was also carrying a bag that was neither too big nor too small. It was Winnie the Pooh and looked like it was worth a few hundred yuan. Hwa-min pushed the door open and didn't have time to see clearly. She vaguely saw a tall and blurry figure pounce on her and hug her tightly. Chapter 45-48. No one knew how excited Su-yu was at this moment. He was like a hungry wolf, pouncing on him because he was afraid that this was all a dream. He was afraid that when he woke up from this dream, all of this would be gone. Then, he would have to go back to that damn desert, huh? What are you doing? Hwa-min pushed him away forcefully. Then, he looked at Su-yu with disdain. Su-yu, on the other hand, couldn't express his surprise or excitement. Mian. It's so good to see you. His eyes were red. President Wu coughed awkwardly and said faintly, Hwa-min, do you know young Master Su? Hwa-min shook his head in confusion. Su-yu said with a cheeky smile, it's okay, Wu, go do your thing. We'll get to know each other soon, this person is shameless. Hwa-min muttered in a low voice. You guys talk first. President Wu felt that he was a little redundant and took the opportunity to leave. Director, didn't you call me back because it was urgent? Hwa-min looked at the director, unwilling to give up. Yes, young Master Su wants to see you. Huh? Hwa-min was confused again. Was this the bullshit reason why she had to spend more than 30 yuan on a taxi and didn't even have time to eat properly? Young Master Su, right? What's the matter? Hearing that this person was looking for him, Hwa-min rolled his eyes impatiently. Su-yu wasn't angry at all. He reached out his hand and said pitifully, Mian, the nurses in your hospital are too bad at acupuncture. They're about to stab me full of holes. I heard that your skills are the best here. From today onwards, can you give me in 4? I'm off today. Hwa-min looked at him with disdain again. I can pay you overtime. Don't think that you can bribe me with money, Hwa-min said righteously, 3,000 yuan a day. In the end, Su added, RMB. Hwa-min was stunned for a moment. Then, he glanced at Su-yu and said, deal. As expected, there was no one who didn't love money. Hwa-min felt that there was no need for him to go against money. With Su-yu's words, they all felt more motivated to work. Huamin jogged over with the tray and equipment for the infusion. Then, Suyu obediently lay on the hospital bed and waited for Huamin to perform acupuncture. This posture was completely like a lamb waiting to be slaughtered. You know me? Huamin suddenly asked him. Suyu shook his head. He was determined not to admit it, because Huamin didn't know him yet. He didn't want her to think that he was crazy. Then why did you call me Mian just now? Huamin was indeed a meticulous Virgo and noticed something was wrong. I heard it from the other nurses here. But I don't know you well. I know. Suyu smiled. So, don't call me Mian from now on, okay? Suyu continued to smile. It's the first time I've seen such a strange patient like you. Are you happy to have a fracture? Huamin glanced at Suyu's face indifferently as if he was looking at an idiot. Yes, it's my honor to be hospitalized at Southside. It's even more my honor to have Beauty Hua personally perform acupuncture, hee. Suyu's mouth was as sweet as honey. You're good at flirting. Unfortunately, I don't fall for it. Okay, I'm done. Don't move, be careful of the needle rolling. Huamin picked up the tray and was about to leave. Mian, I told you not to call me Mian. Huamin turned around and glared at her. However, in Suyu's eyes, her angry face was also very charming. Okay. Huamin. Is there anything else? She looked at him warily. Hello, Huamin, my name is Suyu. Nice to meet you in the future. Suyu looked at Huamin and said word by word. Chapter 45-49. You're crazy. Huamian left after saying that out of the blue. If it weren't for the overtime pay of 3,000 yuan, she wouldn't have given this crazy guy an injection. Although 3,000 yuan wasn't a lot, it was enough for Jixin's living expenses for 2 months. Therefore, sometimes, Huamin had no bottom line for money. After Huamin left, Qin Chu lay on the hospital bed and looked at his arm. The needle that Huamin had injected just now made him feel happy. Those who didn't know would think that he was crazy, however, he knew that he wasn't crazy. He had never been more clear-headed than at this moment. This hard-won happiness, even though he knew that he still had no chance of winning after transmigrating back to this time, because Huamin already had Qin Chu. At this rate, Huamin and Qin Chu were already in a secret marriage. However, it was enough for him to see Mian again. Hearing her speak and seeing her bright eyes, Suyu raised his left hand that wasn't injected and touched his neck. The amulet was still there. He looked at his left wrist and saw that the peace rope that Master Wu had given him was still there. These things constantly reminded him that he was from the future. Suddenly, he thought of something and picked up his phone to make a call. Then, in the next second, Wei Liao and Tang Chuan rushed in. Lord Su, how is it? Which leg is it? Will it affect your posture? Young Master Tang's words were indeed dirty, just like his personality. Wei Liao didn't say anything and just smiled at Suyu. Seeing his old friend again. His heart was filled with excitement. However, Suyu had no choice but to pretend to be calm. You two came to see me empty-handed. What else? Do I have to carry a big rooster for you? Tang Chuan teased. Suyu, or black chicken soup? Wei Liao continued. I'm not in confinement. Stop bullshitting me. Suyu was speechless. Stop joking. Lord Su. How did you lose this time? Your driving skills can be called the god of racing, how can you lose to that little brat? No, his car was tampered with. When he lost control at the edge of the cliff, he almost flipped over. You saved him. Tang Chuan was stunned. I guess so. I can't just watch him and his car flip over. Suyu recalled a car accident many years ago. He had strained his ligaments and was hospitalized at Southside. Originally, he was racing with a young racer, but that kid's car broke down halfway. Almost killed. Suyu had saved him in a moment of desperation, but he had gotten stuck and strained his ligaments. Fortunately, it wasn't serious. Speaking of which, this was a very low-key good deed that Suyu had done. Sure, our Lord Su is doing charity now, don't tell me it's useless. When I recover. Do you want to arrange a drinking party? I want a drink. Suyu was eager to try. He couldn't remember how long it had been since he had drunk with these two guys. No problem. When you recover and are discharged, you can drink as much as you want in my wine cellar. Tang Chuan was also generous. At this moment, the door to the ward opened again. Boss, when An walked in, Suyu felt a lump in his throat and was touched. This kid had been with him for many years, and he never left him even in his dreams. After everyone left, he wondered how An was doing. Boss, the thing you asked me to investigate. An was about to say. Suyu interrupted him. Ahem. There's no rush. We'll talk about it later. Go and buy us some drinks. I want orange juice. Suyu sent An away. After Tang Chuan and Wei Liao left, Suyu called An in alone. Boss. I found out what you asked me to investigate. How is it? Suyu actually wanted to ask how long Qin Chu had been back and how long he had been secretly married to Huamin. Boss, are you mistaken? There's no such person as Qin Chu. At least, there's no such person here. There are many people in the country, but their age and education don't match. Most importantly, the Miss Hui you asked me to investigate did have a boyfriend, but his name is Ning Ziyuan. I heard that they broke up and Miss Hua is single now. What did you say? Suyu looked at An in shock. Chapter 45-50. An was shocked by his boss's question. He stammered, Boss, please recall carefully. Did you remember the name wrongly? I really didn't find Qin Chu. Impossible. Hearing An's report, Suyu rejected it without hesitation. How could there be no Qin Chu? He was the man Huamin loved the most in her life, his most powerful opponent. Then, do you want me to investigate again? Go. Suyu was a little flustered. He waved his hand and asked An to leave first. Then, he lay on the bed with mixed feelings. He did not know what he was experiencing. What was this? But he was indeed back. He touched the edge of the bed and looked at everything in the ward. It did not seem like a dream. However, it was hard to say. The dream created by the dream creator was exactly the same as the real thing. Could it be that he had encountered another nightmare? Was there no Qin Chu in the nightmare? Suyu's mind went wild. He thought of a lot of things that he could think of and couldn't think of. He tried to convince himself. The next morning, Huamin came to give Suyu an injection in the morning as instructed. She was wearing a loose white coat. When she entered, Suyu was eating breakfast. Lady Su was feeding her son porridge. You're not done yet. I'll come back later. Huamin saw that Suyu was eating and turned to leave. No, no. I'm full. Come and give me an injection. Suyu quickly wiped his mouth. Son, didn't you just eat 2 mouthfuls? Lady Su looked at her son in surprise. She could not understand him. Mom, I have no appetite. I won't eat for now. Please go out for a while. I need an injection. So what if I get an injection? What does it matter if I go out or not? Madame Su was baffled. Suyu smiled slightly. How is that the same? You're in the room, and I'm nervous. What if my hand trembles and the nurse stabs it in the wrong way? Who's going to be responsible then? Lady Sue. All right, Mother Empress. Hurry up and leave. Be good, Suyu coaxed his mother out. Only he and Huamin were left in the ward. Huamin was wearing a pair of black-rimmed glasses. His outfit made him look very old-fashioned. After all, the young nurses at Southside were all dressed sexily. Huamin, on the other hand, was well-behaved. Was he doing this on purpose? You haven't eaten anything yet, so your stomach might feel uncomfortable if you get in for drip. Are you sure you don't want to continue eating? Huamin looked at him and asked in the tone of a professional nurse. I can eat. How about you feed me? Suyu looked at Huamin with a cheeky smile. You're not my son, why would I feed you? Sure enough, even though time had traveled, even in a dream, Huamin was still Huamin. He was sharp-tongued and didn't hesitate to scold others. Suyu had experienced this many years ago. At that time, he felt very wronged when he was scolded. Now that he was scolded by Huamin again, he felt very happy. After Huamin skillfully inserted the needles into Suyu, he looked at the foredrip. Don't move around. Watch yourself. There are 3 bottles today. When you want to change the medicine, ring the bell and call me. Can't you stay and watch the foredrip for me? I spend a lot of money at your hospital. Suyu continued to tease him. Do you think you're the only patient I have? I have to go next door. If you want someone to watch you, you might as well pay a nurse. After speaking, Huamin stood up to leave. Hey! Mian! No, Miss Hua, do you know Chin Chu? Suyu asked in a panic. In fact, he regretted asking this question. What if the answer wasn't what he wanted? Wouldn't he be making things difficult for himself? Chapter 45-51. Huamin froze when he heard Chin Chu's name. Then, he shook his head. I don't know him. Suyu stared into her eyes the whole time. Eyes were the best at telling lies. Besides, Huamin was a person who never liked to lie. After Huamin finished speaking, he opened the door and left. Suyu, on the other hand, couldn't suppress the ecstasy in his heart. Without Chin Chu, there really wouldn't be a Chin Chu. Last night, he asked him to check again and again, but he still couldn't find anyone in the city who matched Chin Chu. Most importantly, there was no GK Corporation or the Chin family. What Suyu didn't know was why such a bug would appear after time was turned back. Without Chin Chu, what kind of ecstasy would Suyu be? He would no longer have to bear the accusation of being a third party, and he would no longer have to carefully have a crush on Huamin. He would be good friends with her for life. According to the information and brought back, Huamin's relationship history was as follows. When she was in university, she had a boyfriend named Ning Ziyuan. Later, when the two families were planning to buy a house and get married, she found out that Ning Ziyuan had an affair with a female nurse from the first hospital, and then Huamin broke up with him. Then, she was transferred to Southside. Everything was exactly the same as before. Except that Chin Chu was missing. Could it be that this was a special gift from God to him? Suyu was so excited that he wanted to cry. He never thought that he would have the chance to experience such a moment. At this moment, Lady Su came back and went straight into the kitchen. She heated up the porridge and continued to bring it to Suyu. Son, come, eat some more. Otherwise, your stomach will feel uncomfortable. Mom, I'll do it myself. Suyu happily picked up the spoon with his other hand and drank big mouthfuls. Be careful, no one will steal it from you. Don't burn yourself. Mom, you look so beautiful today. This dress is beautiful. Is it the one I gave you for your birthday last time? Yes, you have good taste. Your dad also said that this style suits me. Lady Sue was in a good mood. She adjusted the scarf around her neck. This brand is not bad. I'll buy more for you when I go on a business trip to Europe. Oh, what's wrong with you today? You seem to be in a good mood. A mother knew her son best. Lady Sue realized that her son, who had always been bad-tempered, was in a good mood today. He was still in the mood to praise her dress, and even promised to buy her a new dress. The sun really rose from the west. Although Sue had always been filial and treated her well, her son would never tell her about buying a dress. Mom. I like a girl. Sue's words stunned Lady Sue. Then, Lady Sue sighed. I know. Isn't she the girl in your company who recently acted in a costume drama? She's pretty, but your grandfather doesn't like people in the entertainment industry.
I'm sure you know that. If you like her, date her first. If it's really to the point of marriage, you can ask her to leave the entertainment industry and keep a low profile for a while. Then, bring her back for everyone to see. Elders were always very cautious when it came to relationships. Lady Sue didn't like gossip. She was a real rich lady and was very cultured. However, she still paid a lot of attention to her son's matters. She knew very well what kind of shows Sue's entertainment company produced every year and who he supported. Lady Sue knew that her son had been supporting a girl named Xiao Qingya recently. She thought that Sue was talking about her. Who knew? It was someone else. Mom, it's not Xiao Qingya. She's not from my company. My company is just putting on a show. This girl is the one I really like. How do you like her? Tell me, Lady Sue said with a smile as she peeled an apple. When I saw her, my heart raced. Then I felt like all the flowers in the world had bloomed. Sue said emotionally.
Chapter 45-52. Sue's description made Lady Sue convulse with laughter. Sue was speechless. Mom, is it that funny? For my son to use such mushy words to describe her. This girl isn't simple. Tell me, where did such a magical conch girl come from? How did she charm you? Forget it, I won't tell you for now. I'll tell you when I catch up with her and have news. You mean, you haven't succeeded yet? Sue nodded. Yes, I haven't succeeded. Okay, when you succeed, bring her home and have a meal with me. Mom, you'll definitely like her very much. Since Lady Sue and Huamin were so close, Sue was full of confidence. You're that confident? Yes, she's a very, very good girl. Sue used two very, very words, which piqued Lady Sue's curiosity. After Lady Sue took care of her son, she went home with the bodyguards and maids. When she bumped into him in the corridor, Lady Sue did not forget to ask him, has young master been in contact with any girls recently? No, young master has been in the hospital recently. It's inconvenient for him to move around, so he hasn't gone anywhere. Could it be someone from the hospital? After saying this, Lady Sue left the hospital curiously. Sue was bored as he stared at his 4-bottle. He felt that he was walking too slowly, so he reached out and sped up the 4-drip. When he saw that the medicine was about to run out, he immediately pressed the bell. Sure enough, in less than 3 minutes, Huamin came over from the on-call desk. You're done so soon. Huamin looked at the 4-bottle. It was indeed almost empty. Yeah. Hurry up and change the dressing, Sue said with a smile. Huamin looked up and swapped the new 4-drip with the one he had just brought. Then, he glanced at Sue. Don't go so fast. It'll irritate your stomach. Got it, Madam Nurse. Hearing how Suyu addressed him, Huamin was slightly startled. Didn't they say that an ancestor was staying in this VIP ward? What did he mean by the man of the hour in the city? His temper was extremely bad. Why couldn't Huamin see a trace of violence on his face? On the contrary, she felt that he was a polite and patient person after interacting with him a few times. What the hell? Huamin was about to leave after changing his dressing. Suyu picked up a big apple with his other hand. Miss Nurse. Huamin turned around. Suyu directly threw the apple over. Fortunately, Huamin reacted in time and caught it. What? She looked at him. Thank you for your help. I'll treat you to an apple. Che. Huamin clicked his tongue and laughed. He picked up the apple and left. As soon as Huamin left and came in, then he heard his boss in a particularly beautiful mood. Why was he in a particularly beautiful mood? Because he was whistling. What kind of song was he whistling? And listened carefully, and almost spat out. Because the melody was secretly asking the holy monk if his daughter was beautiful. Was his daughter beautiful? Wasn't this the theme song of Journey to the West? What was wrong with his boss? Why was he whistling all of a sudden? And walked over quietly. Boss. Yes. Did you win the two-colored ball first prize? And asked in a low voice. Suyu was speechless. What nonsense are you thinking about all day? The lottery is a scam. It's specially made to trick a little idiot like you. That's strange. What made you so happy that you actually started whistling? And was puzzled. Chapter 45-53. Suyu rolled his eyes. It's none of your business. And, well, ever since his boss woke up from the car accident, and had felt strange. At first, he thought that it was because his head was injured. Later, he heard from Lady Sue and the doctor that other than some ligaments being pulled, everything else was fine. And Suyu still insisted that he had traveled through time. Or perhaps it was the most popular rebirth. But, there was one thing he didn't understand. Why wasn't Chin Chu at this time? He even investigated Huamin's childhood. Huamin had studied in second high school and junior high, and he had entered as the top scholar in the middle school examination. It was said that he had a full scholarship. Not only did he not have to spend money to go to school, but he also had a lot of school subsidies every year. Logically speaking, with his results, he should have been able to go abroad. But why did he study in a third-rate university? It was because something happened to Huamin's stepfather, and it was related to Chin Chu's family, causing a blood feud between the two families. Now that even Chin Chu was gone, why did Huamin choose to go to a third-rate university? At this moment, Suyu discovered another surprise. Without Chin Chu, Jingda's tragedy didn't happen. So Jingda was still alive and well in this world, it was just that their lives were a little hard, so they went abroad to work. It was said that they were doing labor service in Africa. They had a 2-year contract, but they hadn't returned yet. Suyu felt that the people and things around him were the same as before. Including Wei Liao and Tang Chuan, including Huamin's good friend, Zhu Lingling. And was still by his side, and Zhao Qingya, Jian Tong, and Nia Lingxian were still in the company. Then why was Chin Chu's line broken? What went wrong? The more he thought about it, the more his head hurt, so you simply took the opportunity to take an afternoon nap. Before taking a nap, she did not forget to instruct and help me keep an eye on the 4 drip. If the medicine runs out, immediately find the little nurse named Huamin to change it. Shaoan nodded and then felt puzzled. His boss didn't even remember the names of the artists in his company. How could he remember the name of a nurse from South Side so clearly? Could it be that the boss had feelings for her, Suyu fell asleep in a daze. In a trance, he felt someone touch him. He was so frightened that he quickly got up from the ground. Only then did he realize that he had unknowingly found himself on a vast grassland. In the distance, there were blue skies and white clouds. The scene was quite beautiful. And the person who touched him surprised him even more. Master, Suyu was so excited that he almost shed tears. Not only had he not dreamed for a long time, but he also did not expect to see Master Wu. Brat. How is it? What do you mean? How are you doing? Now. It's especially good. I realize that I've transmigrated. Ha! I've returned to the past. Not only am I younger, I've also seen a lot of my family and friends. They're all by my side. Suyu wanted nothing more than to tell Master Wu everything in one go. Hearing Suyu say that he had transmigrated, Master Wu smiled slightly. I'm also dreaming now, aren't I? Master. Suyu touched the amulet around his neck and asked. Not bad. Now you know that you're dreaming. Master Wu smiled. Then was my transmigration also a dream? Shouldn't I be in a nightmare? Suyu quickly asked his biggest question. Master Wu looked at Suyu for a while before speaking. Stupid little donkey, you've already escaped from the nightmare. Suyu was overjoyed. He was so excited that he didn't know what to say. He had indeed escaped. Master, where are you? I'll go find you. I have a lot of questions to ask you. Suyu thought that since he had been reborn and transmigrated, he should go find Master Wu as soon as possible. Chapter 45-54. Kid, stop looking for me. You won't be able to find me. Why? Master Wu didn't answer. Instead, he glanced at the amulet on Suyu's neck and the red string on his wrist. Well done. Remember to bring these two things with you at all times. With that, Master Wu's figure started to fade. Master, I still have a lot of questions. Suyu was extremely anxious, but Master Wu's figure was gradually blurring. At the last moment, he only heard Master Wu say two words, parallel world. Master. Master, don't go. Suyu woke up abruptly amidst the screaming. Boss, did you have a nightmare? And quickly poured a glass of warm water and handed it to him. Suyu looked up at the ceiling. It was still the ward at South Side. It seemed like it was just a dream. He panted and drank the warm water in big gulps. And, where's my phone? Madam said that you haven't been resting much recently, so she doesn't want you to play with your phone. Cut the crap, give it to me. And didn't dare to say anything. He took out Suyu's phone from his pocket and carefully handed it over. Suyu turned on his phone with one hand and opened Baidu. After hesitating for a moment, he typed in another word, parallel world. Then, all the information was displayed. The multiverse was a theoretical collection of infinite or finite possible universes. The treasury contained everything that could exist, including all space, time, matter, energy, and the laws and constants of physics that described them. When Suyu was in school, he wasn't very good at science. He had even connected light bulbs to a series of explosions in physics class. Therefore, to him, what he found was like a duck listening to thunder. He couldn't understand it at all. Then, Suyu continued reading. Below was the principle of parallel worlds explained in plain language. He probably wouldn't be able to understand those quanta and molecules for the rest of his life. However, there was one sentence that he understood. Some scholars use this analogy when describing parallel universes. They might be in the same space system but have different time systems. It was like two trains running on the same track. There was another kind of parallel universe where the time system was the same but the space system was different. It was like a car running on the upper and lower floors of an overpass. When Suyu saw this, he more or less understood. However, he was still a little confused. He continued reading and saw that it was written at the bottom. When two parallel worlds met, some people would suddenly appear, some people would leave forever, and some people would find true love. The cracks in space-time, the parallel worlds, and the terrifying time, because there was no future, no one could predict the future. Seeing this, Suyu was once again confused. He put down his phone and closed his eyes. His mind was racing. He thought about everything related to the parallel world. Why did his master tell him about the parallel world in his dream? Could it be that he hadn't transmigrated? Or had he transmigrated to a parallel world? There was no Chin-Chu here. The closer he got to the truth, the faster his heart raced. He wasn't a straight-A student and there were many things that he couldn't understand. At this moment, Huamin came in to change the last bottle of medicine for him. He opened his eyes and looked at Huamin for a while before saying, "Huamin, I have an academic question to ask you. I heard that you used to be a straight-A student." Huamin's hand that was changing the medicine paused for a moment. Then, he glanced at Suyu. "You know quite a lot." Chapter 45-55. After changing the 4-drip, Suyu gave in a look. And tactfully left the ward. "Take a seat." Suyu smiled at Huamin. "No need. Tell me what you want. I'll go to the cafeteria to get food later." Huamin still looked arrogant as he crossed his arms. She was clearly a nurse, but she acted like an attending doctor. Her aura was really unparalleled. "Have you heard of parallel worlds?" After Suyu finished speaking, Huamin laughed out loud. "What are you laughing at? Is there any other way for you to pick up girls? Is it fun to talk to me about such a profound topic? That's really not it. Although I do want to hit on you. I'm sincerely asking this question. Please enlighten me." Suyu didn't notice that Huamin's face was slightly red when he said this. Suyu was probably the only person in the world who would dare to say that he did want to hit on her. Ahem. Huamin coughed lightly. "Miss Nurse, please enlighten me." Looking at Suyu's pitiful expression, Huamin believed that he was just curious and didn't mean to start a conversation with her. There was no doubt that Huamian was a straight-A student. Therefore, when she explained the parallel universe, the theory behind it was similar to Baidu. Suyu still didn't understand. "What I mean is, you'd better explain it to me in a simple way. Otherwise, I might not be able to understand. After all, I'm a bad student." Huamin was speechless. Huamin was helpless. He pushed up his black glasses and asked Suyu, "Let's put it this way. Have you ever had this feeling before? It's like going to a strange place. You've never been to that place before, but you feel that it's familiar." Suyu nodded desperately. He had indeed had this feeling before. As for what kind of state of mind he had been in at that time, he couldn't really describe it. In short, it was very subtle. Also, when something happens, you also feel that it happened before, but you can't remember it. Yes. I've had this feeling before. Suyu nodded his head vigorously. He felt that Huamin had hit the nail on the head. Then, Huamin continued, "Another kind is when you're looking for something. You clearly remember where you put it, but you can't find it anywhere. Then, a few days later, you inexplicably find it there. I really do. I remember that my phone was on the sink once. I couldn't find it no matter how hard I tried. I thought I lost it, so I bought a new one. When I woke up the next morning to wash up, I found my phone on the sink. I couldn't find it no matter how hard I tried. It's amazing. Suyu was extremely excited because he had experienced all the phenomena that Huamin mentioned. Huamin nodded. Yes, although this situation hasn't been scientifically proven, many scientists have proposed the theory of spacetime overlapping and peaceful worlds overlapping. Suyu was confused. In other words, the you in the parallel world has been to that place. So when time overlaps, you will have an impression. However, you didn't go there in this world because the you in the parallel world has been there. So you have an impression. It's the same when you lose something. Because at that moment, the parallel world overlaps and your things are taken away by the you in the parallel world. After the overlapping time passes, your things will naturally return. Of course, this theory is a little ridiculous. Just take it as a joke. Huamin, then do you believe in parallel worlds? If I say that I'm Suyu from the parallel world, would you believe me? Suyu looked at Huamin and stared at her. Perhaps she was the only person he trusted in this world. Chapter 45-56. Huamin looked at Suyu for a while before replying calmly, then if I tell you that I'm a beautiful girl from Pandora, Huamin, would you believe me? Suyu was speechless. You can't stop taking your medicine. After saying those words, Huamin turned around and left. Suyu almost laughed out loud. This wretched girl is still the same as back then. Even her lines are so similar. You can't stop taking your medicine. What a mocking sentence. However, how could Suyu be angry? He didn't even have time to coax that ancestor. Although Suyu found the parallel world unbelievable, if he thought about it carefully, perhaps this was the only way to explain it. If it was just a simple transmigration, it was impossible for Qin Chu to not exist. Could it be that there really is a parallel world in this world? Suyu searched for information about parallel worlds online for a long time. He only put down his phone when his eyes were tired. At that moment, he suddenly had an idea. He took out his phone, opened WeChat, and posted on his WeChat. Suyu was a lazy person. Moreover, men were not as emotional as women. They would post whatever they thought. Therefore, Suyu's WeChat was relatively clean. He opened it and took a look. The last time he posted on his WeChat. It was 3 months ago, at a public event at Imperial Star. He posted a link. Suyu opened his WeChat and slowly wrote, "In a parallel world, there might be another you. He is doing things that you don't dare to do and living the life that you have always wanted." In less than a minute, he had already received countless likes. Suyu didn't even know who some of the likes were. Tang Chuan, Lord Su, you've become pretentious, but I still love you so much. Suyu replied to Tang Chuan, get lost, you pervert. Wei Liao, a car accident created a philosopher. Suyu replied to Wei Liao, keep mocking me. Just you wait. Zhao Qingya, what's wrong, Mr. Su? In a bad mood. Jian Tong, no matter how many parallel worlds there are, no matter how many of you there are, you will always be the king. Lady Su, son, tell me what you want to eat tonight. Suyu glanced at them and was too lazy to reply to them. As he lay in bed, he once again thought of a serious problem. If this was a parallel world, there should be another Suyu. Then, where did this world Suyu go? After all, he was an outsider. Could it be that the Suyu here had died in the car accident? And he had switched souls, and stayed here. The more he thought about it, the more his brain burned. Thus, he decided not to think about it anymore. Suyu covered his head and prepared to rest. At this moment, they heard a commotion at the door. Miss Xiao, the boss is already resting. Don't lie to me. The boss just posted it on his WeChat moments. You stinky bodyguard, don't be so ungrateful, okay? I'm the boss's sweetheart. Obviously, Zhao Qingya, that brainless girl, had an argument with An at the door. Then, she barged in without a care. And, let her in, Suyuk shouted. And pursed his lips, Zhao Qingya became even more arrogant. Did you see that? President Su already said to let me in. Just wait for your bonus to be deducted, country bumpkin. Zhao Qingya was currently very popular. Other than Su Yu, she didn't care about anyone else. Even her best friend said that she was the woman most likely to marry into the Su family. Therefore, she was momentarily overjoyed. He didn't know if Zhao Qingya did it on purpose or not. She came in the middle of the night wearing only a silk dress. It was nude pink. Her long hair fell over her shoulders, and she wore Korean-style eye makeup. She even sprayed a classic Burberry perfume. She was still carrying a Hermes bag, but the style had changed. President Su. The moment she spoke, her voice gave people goosebumps. Chapter 45-57. Su Yu, on the other hand, looked calm. He leaned against the bed, still playing with his phone. President Su. I miss you. I can't sleep. Didn't I tell you not to come? Su Yu said calmly. His eyes were still on his phone, as if he was playing a game of Candy Crush. But I really miss you. You've been living here for so long. I haven't seen you in a long time. There were only the two of them here, so Su Yu knew what Zhao Qingya wanted to say. Stop. Su Yu looked up. President Su. Zhao Qingya pouted and began to act coquettishly. Zhao Qingya, let me ask you. Do you want to continue being a celebrity? Of course. I do. Zhao Qingya was stunned by Su Yu's sudden question. Su Yu really wanted to find someone to tie this woman up and feed her to the sharks. After all, Zhao Qingya had done so many evil things. Whether it was in a dream or in reality, Su Yu didn't have a good impression of this woman at all. However, Su Yu controlled himself and told himself that this was a parallel world. Zhao Qingya didn't know Huamin yet, so she hadn't done anything to hurt Huamin. If you want to stay at Imperial Star and continue being popular, and continue to make money, from now on, stay away from me. Most importantly, don't be a bitch, President Su. Zhao Qingya was stunned. What was wrong with Su Yu? He wasn't like this before. Don't ask why. I'm not in the mood to explain so much to you. Anyway, from now on, you're an artist under my company. Other than that, we have nothing to do with each other. You're not allowed to use me to create hype, or else I'll cut you off. When Su Yu said cut her off, he meant freezing her. For celebrities, the scariest thing was to be frozen and banned. Hearing Su Yu's words, Zhao Qingya was surprised, angry, and wronged. However, on the surface, she didn't dare to disobey Su Yu. I understand, President Su. Her voice was as soft as a mosquito's. It was obvious that she felt wronged. She thought that she could keep Su Yu interested in her for a while with her ability, but he got sick of her after just a few days. Could it be that the rumors were true? Did President Su's interest in that bitch, Jian Tong? Zhao Qingya's words, Su Yu's words. I'm warning you, don't do anything that's out of line. Whether it's with the other artists in the company or something else, your path to stardom is pretty good right now. If you cause a scandal, I won't let you off. Yes, President Su. I'll remember it. Okay, you can leave. Don't come here again. You can talk to the vice president about work matters. There's no need to meet alone in the future. Su Yu's the president. The other hand, Zhao Qingya, the other hand, the other the su were the other as were they see the su people as su's the other of st. He had finally dealt with a troublemaker. He looked at his watch and saw that it was already 11:30 p.m. Suyu wasn't sleepy at all. He searched for Huamin's WeChat. He tried to add Huamin with his previous number, but it wasn't his. Only then did he realize that Huamin's WeChat wasn't his phone number. Suyu tried to add Huamin with his WeChat, and it was still the same number. Huamin's profile picture was the same as before. It was a picture of him on campus. Suyu added Huamin, and the note read, "I'm your husband. Add me." 3 minutes later, Suyu received a rejection notification from Huamin. Chapter 45-58. Other than rejecting him, Huamin also added, "I'm your mother. Husband. Mother. That's a good match." Suyu couldn't help but chuckle. He thought about how Suyu was like this in the past. Because they met at Southside, he was deeply in love. In the beginning, he had investigated Huamian's background. Later, he had challenged Qin Chu. Now that he thought about it, it was extremely childish back then. Because from the beginning, Suyu had already lost the moment he challenged Qin Chu. He could work hard to be more powerful than Qin Chu, richer than Qin Chu, have more material things than Qin Chu, and love Huamin more than Qin Chu. However, he neglected the most important thing at the time. And that was that love was mutual. In this world, there had never been a pair of true lovers who were both in love. Suyu was passionately in love back then, so no matter what he did, it was all wishful thinking. To Huamin, no matter how rich Suyu was, no matter how much power he had, and no matter how much he loved her, it was all useless because she didn't love him. To Huamin, even if Qin Chu wasn't the president of GK, wasn't the only son of the Qin family, and didn't have a 360-degree face that could topple the world, Huamin would still love him. Because he was Qin Chu, the only man Huamin had ever loved in her life, Suyu once thought that if he were to transmigrate, he would have to transmigrate back to when he was young, preferably when he was in kindergarten. Only then would he be able to know Huamin longer than Qin Chu. Therefore, when Suyu thought that he had transmigrated back to the past, he was quite upset. Because as long as Qin Chu was around, he would always be the one who lost miserably, even during those 4 years when Qin Chu was recuperating in the United States and disappearing. Suyu took care of Huamin and her mother meticulously for nearly 4 years. However, it couldn't compare to Qin Chu's "I'm back." Therefore, after experiencing all this, Suyu already knew his limits. However, he never thought that he could transmigrate to a parallel world. A parallel world where there was no Qin Chu, only Huamin. Suyu's heart was filled with excitement and ecstasy. He even felt that he had sacrificed so much in exchange for this incomparably precious opportunity. If it's not a dream, if it's real, then he would die, here, his friends, his family, just like before. The only one missing was Huamian's beloved Qin Chu. Suyu slowly pulled her thoughts back to reality. He added Huamin, "Grandaunt, add me. I don't have a grandson as old as you. Thank you." Huamin rejected him again. Suyu knew that with Huamin's personality, she wouldn't add someone she wasn't familiar with just a few words. At least for the current Huamin, she still didn't know Suyu. Therefore, Suyu didn't want to be impatient and scare her or pressure her, because he had a lot of time. He had a lifetime to chase after her and make her fall in love with him. In the other world, Suyu wanted to ask Huamin more than once. If there was no Qin Chu, if I appeared first, would you fall in love with me? However, Huamin didn't answer because the hypothetical question itself didn't hold water. Now, in this parallel world, everything had really happened. Suyu had to use his entire life to prove. Without Qin Chu, would Huamin still fall in love with him? Early morning. As Su Yu was in a good mood, he woke up early. Then, his mother brought the maid to deliver a sumptuous breakfast. Mom. Yes. You don't have to come over tomorrow. Don't bring me food anymore. Why? Lady Su was slightly startled. I want to eat in the hospital. Isn't the food in the hospital bad? Lady Su remembered that her son had complained before that the food in the hospital was like pig's food. It's not good. That's right. Isn't that a good way to lose weight? Su Yu smiled. Lady Su couldn't help but laugh. Child, why do you need to lose weight? Health is the most important thing. At this moment, Huamin came in with a tray. Su Yu, it's time for the infusion. Chapter 45-59. Okay. I'll be right there. Su Yu immediately put down the meat bun in his mouth and took the initiative to extend an arm for Huamin to inject. Lady Su was so surprised that her jaw almost dropped. Mom. I'm having an injection. It's not good to have too many people in the room. It's too messy. Go out and wait for me. Su Yu blinked and sent his mother and then away. Before she left, Lady Su did not forget to take another look at the nurse. She felt that she was really average looking. At the door of the ward. And yes, madam. Has young master been acting strangely these 2 days? Yes, a little. Tell me about it. Lady Su held a white dye bag and sat demurely on a bench in the hospital corridor. And scratched his head. How should I put it? Anyway, young master has been suspicious recently. Something is indeed wrong. Maybe it's because he's bored lying in the hospital. Do you know the girl who gave young master the injection? It's Miss Hua. She's been giving young master injections recently. She's just a caretaker. And nodded. I guess so. She was handpicked by young master. Handpicked? When did this happen? After young master woke up, did young master say anything about how he treats Miss Hua differently? After all, Lady Su was Su Yu's mother, so she knew her son well. Although her son was used to fooling around, she could still tell who he was interested in. After all, Su Yu was an impatient person and could not hide things in his heart. It's different. Maybe he interacts more with her. Sometimes, when Miss Hua comes to inject young master will deliberately tease her. What's Miss Hua's background? Lady Su continued to ask. And hesitated for a moment. He didn't know if he should tell her. Tell me what you know. Don't hide anything from me. Yes, madam. Miss Hua's background is very simple. She has a younger brother, and they live in the slums of the East Side. Their living conditions are not very good, but I heard that Miss Hua is a straight-A student. She didn't pay any tuition fees since junior high, and she received scholarships every year. She graduated from the local medical university. However, because she doesn't have any connections and didn't get in through the back door, she's still a nurse. What an amazing woman. All right, I got it. You still have to take care of the young master's matters. Don't worry, madam. I will protect young master well. Shaoan was an honest man. He had followed Su Yu for a long time, and Lady Su liked him very much. Inside the ward, Miss Nurse. You're so educated. Why are you only a nurse? I think you're qualified to be a doctor. While Su Yu flattered him, Huamin lowered his head and carefully organized the equipment. I don't have any connections or money. It's good enough to be a nurse. Isn't it good to have insurance until retirement? But I think if you become a doctor, you'll benefit the country and the people. Suyu continued flattering him. Huamin raised his head and looked at Suyu. You sure know how to talk. To be honest, if you want to be a doctor, I can help, no need. Before Suyu could finish his sentence, Huamin directly rejected him. That's not the salary of a doctor. Your income will be many times higher. I heard that you majored in obstetrics and gynecology in university. Don't you want to be an outstanding obstetrician? Upon hearing Suyu's words, Huamin's eyes flashed. He was obviously tempted, but, according to what you said, what I need is money. It's so complicated for me to work so hard to be a doctor. I might as well find a rich man and marry him. It'll be more practical, Huamin teased. Okay. Then marry me. I'll definitely be a rich man. Suyu took advantage of the situation. Chapter 45-60. I can tell, but it's not old-fashioned enough. Move aside. After being scolded again, Suyu wasn't discouraged because he was already mentally prepared. Hey, Huamin. What? Has anyone told you that your eyelashes are beautiful? Suyu looked at Huamin's face with a serious expression. After hearing this, Huamin reached out to touch his forehead. Stop fooling around. My eyelashes are so short that I can't even see them in the mirror. It's because they're so short that they're special. I'm tired of looking at the thick eyelashes of those flirtatious bitches outside. I like short ones. Huamin, Suyu had a feeling that the conversation was going to die as they talked. Huamin didn't know whether to laugh or cry. He carried the tray and walked out. Miss Nurse, please wait. What are you doing now? Huamin was so angry that he was almost speechless. The person staying in this VIP ward was simply a weirdo. My mom won't send me food starting this afternoon. Can you help me order some food from the hospital's cafeteria? I just want you to pack one for me after you finish your lunch. Is that okay? The food in the cafeteria is delicious. It's okay. I like bad food. Huamin, the food in the cafeteria isn't cheap. I can't use my meal card. Huamin got straight to the point. I asked my assistant to add 100,000 yuan to your meal card. Is that enough? Huamin, fuck, of course, this foul language was said very softly. What's wrong? Not enough. Suyu asked deliberately. Brother, this money is enough to eat until the day our hospital goes bankrupt. If you have 100,000 yuan, why do you still eat in the hospital's cafeteria? The best private restaurant in the city, Li Ji, delivers food every day. It doesn't cost 100,000 yuan. Huamian felt that there was something wrong with the young master of the Su family. Something was seriously wrong with him. But I don't like to eat Li Ji's private home cuisine. Alright, up to you. Huamin didn't want to continue talking to this crazy tycoon. He would go crazy. Huamin came from an ordinary family. It wasn't easy for Uncle Jing to earn money. 2 years ago, her mother fell ill and was hospitalized for a major operation. The family was already in debt. Uncle Jing had no choice but to go to Africa for labor and hadn't returned for 2 years. However, this crown prince could easily top up 100,000 yuan in the hospital's meal card. What kind of existence was this? After Huamin left, Suyu was in a good mood. At noon Huamin came to deliver food. She was quite honest. Seeing that prince had a lot of money, she ordered 8 dishes and 1 soup. The whole ward was filled with pig trotters. When Suyu saw these dishes, he was also dumbfounded. Soy sauce pig trotters, steamed pork shoulder, red braised pork, black fish stewed with tofu, iron pot veal, fried chicken thigh, green pepper fried meat, lion head. This. Doesn't the patient need to eat something light? It's so greasy. Is it okay? Suyu didn't expect Hwamin to be so honest. The 8 dishes were all meat. He was full just by looking at them, let alone eating. You injured your leg, not your spleen and stomach. It's okay. Eat. I'll try to help you spend the 100,000 yuan as soon as possible. Suyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Come and eat with me. No, why? I think you're dirty, Suyu, look at you. You haven't washed your face or shaved for days. You're so ugly and unhygienic, Suyu, let's go. Eat slowly. Tell me if it's not enough. I'll get more. No, it's enough, my dear. After Hwamin left, Suyu called in, who was at the door. Boss, what can I do for you? Take these and go out with the bodyguards at the door. Eat them all. What about you? And touched his head. Chapter 45-61. I just took a look at these dishes and I'm full, Suyu said. Ha 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 ha. Boss, you're so funny. Don't laugh. Get out. Suyu sent him away with all the greasy dishes. Only then did his stomach feel better. His leg was fine. In fact, the doctor had already said that he could be discharged. It was Suyu who refused to leave. He was flirting with the girl he loved every day. He was speechless. In the evening, an uninvited guest came to the hospital. He was an uninvited guest because Suyu's heart turned cold the moment he saw him. Hua Xiqian still liked to wear pink. Logically speaking, such a feminine color shouldn't look good on a man. However, this man was able to hold himself back. Hua Xiqian had short brown hair and was wearing white casual pants and a light pink suit. He was also holding a fruit basket in his hand. It was a strange sight. He had a smile on his face as he walked down the corridor. The nurses couldn't help but scream when they saw him. Hwamin was playing with his phone at the on-call desk. His head was lowered and he didn't see him. It was Hua Xiqian who took an apple from the fruit basket. He placed it beside Hwamin's hand. Sister Mian, I'll treat you to an apple. Hwamin looked up and saw that it was Hua Xiqian. His face darkened. Take it away. I don't want it. Eat it. Eating more fruit is good for your skin. With that, Hua Xiqian left before Hwamin could say anything. He carried the fruit into Suyu's room. When Suyu saw him, his expression was extremely complicated. This was because Suyu wasn't the original Suyu in the parallel world. He was the Suyu who had transmigrated from another world. Therefore, he carried all the memories of the other world. As for Hua Xiqian, he was once the common enemy of Suyu and Qin Chu. This big pervert had once abducted Hwamin to live on a deserted island for many days. During that time, Suyu and Qin Chu almost went crazy. Suyu was only pleasantly surprised that Qin Chu was not in this world, but he had neglected the existence of Hua Xiqian, a big trouble. One had to know that his obsession and love for Hwamin was no less than Suyu and Qin Chu. It was just that his method was too perverted. What are you doing here? Seeing Hua Xiqian, Suyu felt very unhappy. What are you talking about? As a partner of Imperial Star, I'm here to see President Su, no need. Brother Su, you're being very cold to me. What's going on? Is it because a small artist under your company has jumped ship to the Hua Corporation? After being ignored by Suyu, Hua Xiqian was confused. After all, they had been drinking together a while ago. He didn't have a good relationship with Suyu, but they weren't enemies either. Only then did Suyu adjust his emotions. He couldn't make it too obvious, in case he exposed himself. Look at you, a big man wearing colorful clothes like a peacock. Aren't you embarrassed? Suyu lectured him. Hua Xichen lowered his head and glanced at his suit. I've been wearing this since I was 18. There's nothing wrong with it, buddy. You came to see a patient with this crappy fruit basket. Aren't you embarrassed? You're the vice president of the whole corporation. Then what do you want? Hua Xichen laughed. Aren't you going to send me a red packet? Suyu waved his phone. Is this considered extortion? Hua Xichen laughed. No, I'm clearly asking you for it. Okay, then I'll send you 888 yuan to shut you up. Hua Xichen helplessly took out his phone. Transfer 2 more 8s, or I'll look down on you. Hua Xichen, sure enough, Suyu had more face. In the end, Hua Xichen transferred 5 8s. Then, he didn't forget to say, hurry up and take a screenshot and post it on your WeChat moments. Let everyone see how good I am to you. Suyu ignored him and replied, Hua Xichen, I don't have a problem with business cooperation, and I don't have a problem with you calling me brother, but, let me tell you, don't touch Huamin, or I'll kill you. Chapter 45-62. Hua Xichen looked at Suyu and smiled. Huamin. You've fallen for her. Stop fooling around. I'm not fooling around. I'm telling the truth. You better listen to me clearly. Suyu finally came to a parallel world without Qin Chu, and he didn't want to lose to Hua Xichen. Then, Hua Xichen burst out laughing. What are you laughing at? Suyu was quite displeased. Hua Xichen lowered his head, and his laughter was incomparably pleasant. Suyu, are you crazy? I, Hua Xichen, can have any woman I want. I wouldn't be so desperate as to commit incest with my sister, right? She's not your biological sister, Suyu replied. Isn't having the same father a biological sister? Did you hit your head? Hua Xichen was speechless. Weren't you adopted? When did you get married? Suyu was in a hurry and told him that Hua Xichen was adopted, but after that, he blamed himself. Even a cripple couldn't tell the truth. This was unintentionally a shortcoming for Hua Xichen. To his surprise, Hua Xichen wasn't angry. Instead, he laughed out loud. Lord Su. I think this car accident really hurt you. Even if you're the president of an entertainment company, you can't casually spread rumors. Huamin's mother is my father's ex-girlfriend, and they broke up and gave birth to her. There's nothing wrong with that. My grandfather married my mother to Huamin in order to unite with the Hua Corporation and give birth to me. There's nothing wrong with that either. Huamin and I have the same last name and the same father. So, don't worry, even if all the women in the world died, I wouldn't have any improper thoughts about my sister. After Hua Xichen said this, Suyu was stunned. Then, what about Shinjiani? Where's Hui Yanyan and Hua Si? Suyu asked. Who? Hua Xichen didn't seem to have heard him clearly. Shinjiani, Hui Yanyan, and Hua Si, Suyu repeated. I've never heard of these people before. Suyu, are you dreaming? Suyu, fine, I won't talk to you anymore. I came to see you out of the kindness of my heart. Not only did you blackmail me, you even slandered me. You're not suitable to be a boss, you're more suited to be a paparazzi, haha. Oh right, I've taken a liking to one of the female artists your company signed. If you don't want to do it, I'll do it. Hua Xichen waved his hand and stood up to leave. Before he left, he even made a teasing remark. Suyu didn't know what was going on. Suyu quickly called in. Boss, what's the matter? Whose son is Hua Xichen? Suyu asked out of the blue. The old chairman of the Hua Corporation. Hua Zhenghai. Isn't he adopted? Suyu raised his head and looked at An with a sharp gaze. Ahem. Boss, where did you hear this from? Young Master Hua is the son of the Hua family. There are also rumors that Miss Hua is also Hua Xinghai's daughter, but it hasn't been confirmed. All these years, Miss Hua and her mother haven't had any contact with the Hua family. Other than that, does Hua Xinghai have any other children or wives? No, I don't know if he's a mistress, but young Master Hua is his only son. So you had a lot on his mind, boss. Did you hear some gossip from someone? Is it accurate? The Hua family is a prestigious family, we can't talk nonsense. Be careful not to get sued. And reminded Suyu in a low voice. Suyu's mind was in a mess. He sorted out the sources of the information. In other words, in this world, Hua Min and Hua Xiqin were half-siblings, and Hua Yanyan and Hua Si didn't exist at all. This is really good news, and you look very handsome today. N. Chapter 45-63. And coughed awkwardly and said, Boss, although you've been good to me for the past few years, I still have something to say to you. Go ahead. Holding his cell phone, Suyu lowered his head and played with it while listening to An I don't like men, and said. Yeah, me too. Then just now, damn. Are you thinking too much? I said you were handsome today, so it means I have feelings for you. Why don't you look at yourself? Suyu almost jumped up and blew An's head off. What was this guy thinking? How could he think that he was interested in him? Ha ha ha, I misunderstood. It's good that you're not. Hearing that he had misunderstood, An immediately grinned, revealing his 8 teeth. You're so stupid. Everyone says Lu Yen doesn't like you. Ha! Lu Yen. Who's Lu Yen? Suyu suddenly realized that he had let the cat out of the bag. He wasn't sure if Lu Yen existed in this world. From the looks of it, Mian might really be Hua Xinghai's biological daughter. In other words, there was no conspiracy in Dong Tao Town. Without Professor Lu, there would be no Lu Yen and Xiao Fei. Without Qin Chu, there would be no Rick and Qin Ning. Then what about Tang Chuan's wife? Although he had discovered the benefits of this world, he gradually realized that he had lost many people. What made Suyu feel the most conflicted was, without Qin Chu, Hua Min wouldn't have married Qin Chu. This was a good thing. However, without Qin Chu, there would be no twins in the future. Suyu's heart ached at the thought of the 2 innocent and cute children. The appearance of Little Bean and Pudding had made his life much happier. In the beginning, when the little ones were born, he did his best to treat the children well because of his love for them. He wanted Hua Min to be touched and the children to like him. But later on, after taking care of her for so long, she really treated her as her own. Suyu could guarantee that his love for the twins was no less than Qin Chu's. However, there would no longer be twins in this world. Boss, your mood has been changing a lot recently. One moment you're happy, the next you're sad. What's wrong? Just treat it as if I'm on my period. Suyu said. And was speechless. I've only heard of women having menstruation, but I've never heard of men having menstruation. Cut the crap. Get out, I'm going to sleep. The next morning Suyu's leg had almost recovered. When the attending doctor came to visit in the morning, he specifically told Suyu that he could get out of bed and walk slowly to exercise. He did not see Hua Min today because he did not need an 4 drip. Suyu's heart was restless. He was not in the mood to eat. With Anne's help, she walked slowly in the corridor and then went to the back garden of the hospital. However, she saw Hua Min talking and laughing with an unfamiliar man. Suyu desperately searched through his memories. He realized that the kid was actually a soldier introduced to Huamin by the old man in the ward next door. Instantly, he was filled with anger, and, "Go back and bring me my phone." Suyu took the opportunity to send an away. "Okay, boss, thank you here. Don't wander around." After and left, Suyu limped over. When he walked nearby, he heard the kid talking to Huamin. "I heard that you broke up with your ex-boyfriend a long time ago. Have you considered starting a new relationship? I'm in the army, so I can apply for my wife to follow the army and live in the family building. However, your job might have to change. We also have a military hospital there. I can find some connections and arrange for you to go in. What do you think?" Before Huamin could reply, Suyu rushed up. Chapter 45-64. You keep talking about connections. As a former soldier, I feel embarrassed for you. Does your family own the army? You can transfer anyone you want. The blind date looked at Suyu in confusion. May I ask, who are you? My surname is Su. My name is Yu. Suyu was a little anxious and angry, so he introduced himself like a gangster. You're Suyu. The man must have heard of this name before, so he wasn't surprised. After all, the Su family was second only to one person in the military. Suyu, are you crazy? What are you doing here? Huamin was very embarrassed. He glanced at the patient he didn't know well. You're the one who's crazy. You have a boyfriend. Don't you think it's shameful for you to go on a blind date? When did I? Huamin was about to say something. Suyu interrupted him again. You're just arguing with me. Isn't it normal for couples to argue? You can't go on a blind date just to piss me off. Forget about the blind date. Can't you find someone better? You even like a company commander. Is there something wrong with your eyes? Do you need me to get you a pair of glasses? Suyu, you bastard. Huamin was about to go crazy. That guy understood what was going on when he heard this. Then, he turned to look at Huamin. Miss Hua, so you have a boyfriend. Then you shouldn't have gone on a blind date with me. You shouldn't have lied to my third grandpa. He told me that you're single. I'm single. Huamin wanted to explain, but Suyu interrupted him again. Mian, stop fooling around, okay? I'll go home and kneel on a durian. Don't make me angry. You know how much I love you. We can't lose face in front of outsiders. If you have something to say, let's go home and talk behind closed doors. Motherfucker. Who's talking behind closed doors? Suyu, you must be out of your mind. Huamin, a genius with a sharp tongue, was disrupted by Suyu at this moment. He wanted to explain, but he couldn't. Obviously, his blind date was a little angry. Since that's the case, I won't disturb the two of you any further. Take your time. The blind date knew her place and left. Hey, listen to me, it's not like that. Huamin still wanted to say something and wanted to chase after her, but Suyu grabbed his arm. Mian, don't leave, sleep your ass. Huamin turned around and shoved her hard, probably because he was angry. Suyu immediately fell to the ground. His legs were already inconvenient to begin with. Now, the fall was even more unsightly. The moment he landed, Suyu deliberately shouted, "Ouch, it hurts. It's over, it's over. My legs are really going to break." Huamin was about to leave when he saw Suyu screaming. He couldn't bear it. Are you okay? Are you dead? If you don't help me up, I'll die. Huamin was furious, but he couldn't bear to leave Suyu here. Therefore, he went forward and used his weak body to help him up. This was the first time Suyu was so close to Huamin since he transmigrated to the parallel world. When their bodies touched, he could even smell the unique fragrance on her body. Suyu suppressed the passionate love he had for Huamin deep in his heart. He looked abstinent, afraid that he would be too impatient and scare her. Why do you look like you have a deep grudge? If you don't want me to help you, you can walk on your own. Huamin raised his head and looked at Suyu, who was so close to him. No, I'm willing. Sorry to trouble you, chief nurse. Suyu smiled fawningly. Chapter 45-65. I'm repaying evil with good. You ruined my blind date just now. I shouldn't have cared about you and left you to fend for yourself. Huamin said angrily. You should thank me. That guy doesn't look like a good person. If you get together with him and he abuses you, you'll be pitiful. How do you know he's abusing you? Do you know him? I know how to read people's faces. Really, he's not the right person for you, Suyu said in all seriousness. Huamin was so angry that she laughed. Suyu, don't try to play tricks on me. Reading people's faces. If you really know how to read people's faces, why didn't you help yourself? Why did you get yourself into a car accident? Do you think I'm a 3-year-old who's listening to you? Plus, if he's not the right person for me, who is? All the girls at Southside want to find a good boyfriend. Why can't I? Then you can find someone better than him. It's so hard for you to be with a little company commander. I know my place. A company commander is good, and I'm not some socialite's daughter. That's enough for me. If you don't hold your head high, how are you going to make your ex regret? I heard that Ning Ziyuan is going to marry a nurse. That nurse is the mistress who came between you two, right? You investigated me. Huamin stopped in her tracks angrily and glared at Suyu. Of course not. I heard the nurses at your hospital gossiping. You know that the first hospital and South Side are chain hospitals, so you know what's going on there. I heard it by accident, don't misunderstand me. No matter what Ning Ziyuan does, it's all in the past. What does it have to do with me? Even if he marries the mayor's daughter, it's none of my business. Huamin was still the same as before, as if she was from another world. She looked like a pretentious prick, calm and collected. She always looked like it had nothing to do with her, so you almost hugged her just now. This Huamin was so familiar, this was the Huamin he had loved for so many years. Then you can find a better boyfriend to piss him off. I can't find one. I'm not that good. I can introduce you. Suyu smiled. No, thank you. What do you think of me? Suyu volunteered to ask her. To be honest? Yes, to be honest. You're really nothing much. Bad temper, picky food, blabber a lot. You look like a sissy. Most importantly, you have too many women, like a stud horse. Although Huamin didn't like to gossip, he had heard a lot about this man's romantic history in the past few days in South Side. When Suyu was in a coma in the hospital, there were at least 80 women who came to visit, if not 100. Famous actresses, female hosts, models, socialites, and even the daughters of the 4th-generation officials were all here. Therefore, Huamin felt that he couldn't afford to offend a big shot like Suyu. Moreover, he didn't have a high opinion of him. He didn't like men who had too many women. He was a playboy by nature. Ahem. What you see isn't me, that's just on the surface. You have to understand the real me deep down. I'm the most affectionate man in the world. Suyu promised Huamin with a serious expression. Ha, don't talk nonsense. I'm still the most beautiful woman in the world, Huamin teased. In my heart, you are. Suyu blurted out. At that moment, Huamin was slightly stunned. She realized that when Suyu looked at her, there was something wrong with his gaze. It didn't seem like he was flirting with her. Chapter 45-66. Huamin had always been a girl with a high EQ and IQ. She vaguely felt that the way this man looked at her was a little strange. The reason why it was strange was because she saw deep love in this man's eyes. But how long had this man known her? She had been hospitalized for less than 10 days. How deep could he be? Huamin never believed in love at first sight. She once joked with Zhu Lingling that love at first sight wasn't about feelings, it was about looks. As long as you were good-looking, most men would fall in love at first sight. In Huamin's heart, she believed that love would grow with time. Unfortunately, the person who could make her fall in love with time didn't appear. From middle school to high school, she had been pursued by many boys, but she was rejected by all of them. Huamin wasn't a beauty at first sight. She was just delicate and pretty. But once you got to know her, you might be attracted to her personality and personal charm. A top student like her was like a god in the eyes of many bad boys. Unfortunately, those men weren't Huamin's type. After she went to university, Ning Ziyuan pursued her for 3 whole years. For 3 years, he helped her fetch water, get food, and clean the classroom. Huamin didn't care about Ning Ziyuan's rural background and poor family background. She thought that he was quite reliable, but men were always like this. They looked at what was in the pot and ate what was in the basin. After graduating and working for less than half a year, Ning Ziyuan had an affair with a young nurse. Huamin was glad that she didn't have any physical intimacy with him. In the end, they broke up. Although he pestered her a few times, Huamin rejected him. She always thought that she was an outstanding person, but in the world of love, she always seemed to lack something. In the past, she hated blind dates. Later, when she came to South Side, many patients took the initiative to introduce her. Over time, Huamin silently accepted them, but Suyu's appearance was like a sudden clap of thunder that disturbed her originally peaceful first half of her life. Suyu, what is your goal? She asked him. What purpose could I have for asking such a question? You didn't come to South Side to get close to me, did you? No. Suyu shook his head. There are so many hospitals in the city, why did you come to South Side? I heard that your hospital has good facilities, a good environment, and a lot of girls. Huamin, stop fooling around. I came to South Side because of the first-rate equipment and first-rate doctors. Then why do you seem to be targeting me? Huamin was not stupid. She had a feeling that Suyu was up to something when he asked her to perform acupuncture and accepted it too frequently. How am I targeting you? I clearly like you, I don't believe you. What are you plotting? Miss Huamin Mian, what do you think I want from you? Tell me, what do you have? Huamin remained silent. She indeed had nothing, compared to Suyu, who had a prominent background. Huamin's background was nothing. Did he ask you to come to me? Huamin lowered her head. Her eyelashes looked beautiful from this angle. Who is he? Suyu was confused. Hua Xiqian. He's been trying to contact me, but my mom and I won't forgive him. He's the modern version of Qin Shimi, a scumbag. Huamin commented on her biological father. Yes, in the parallel world, Suyu had investigated thoroughly. Huamin was Hua Xinghai's biological father. Therefore, there was no professor or Lu Yan here. Ah, it's not him. I don't care about that old man. Suyu smiled slightly. Chapter 45-67. Forget it, I'm not going to talk nonsense with you. Go back to the ward and rest. Hua-min decided not to continue talking nonsense with Su-yu. He felt that he was a glib talker who never spoke the truth. With Hua-min's help, Su-yu walked faster than before. And originally ran back with the phone to give it to his boss. Then, he saw from afar that his boss was being supported by Hua-min. He immediately knew his place. He immediately found a place to hide. After Hua-min helped Su-yu back to the room and left, he jumped out. Boss, you're flirting with the nurse again. What do you mean again? You make it sound like I've been flirting with her all the time. Su-yu rolled his eyes at an boss phone. And obediently handed over the phone. Su-yu took it and immediately opened it to look at WeChat. Hua-min still didn't add him. Boss, yes. Are you interested in that nurse? You can even tell, Su-yu replied absent-mindedly as he played with his phone. The entire hospital can tell. It's so obvious. And pouted. Is there a problem? Su-yu looked up at him. Forgive me for being blunt, but that nurse isn't very good looking. She doesn't seem to be your type. What did I like before? Su-yu asked in amusement. And rested his chin on his hand and thought for a moment before saying, you used to like women who are good looking, have big butts, big breasts, have long hair, big eyes, can act coquettishly, can coax people, can dance, and can sing. Was I that blind in the past? And anyway, I won't like women like that anymore, Su-yu promised seriously. Then Miss Xiao, Miss Jian, and the others, none of them are my type. So, boss, you're interested in the nurse and want to woo her. How many months do you plan to keep her fresh this time? And felt that it might be because the boss had never been in contact with the nurse industry and found it novel. That young nurse also always dissed the boss. That was why he was so interested. But according to the boss's bad temper, he would probably get sick of it in a few months. At that time, he would have to change again. Unexpectedly, this time, Su-yu said, this time, I plan to stay fresh for the rest of my life. No way. Don't tell me you're going to get married. And was puzzled. No. I'm going to have a baby. And almost vomited blood when he heard this, give birth to children. This was a topic that the boss didn't want to talk about before, because everyone knew that Su-yu didn't like children. When he saw other people's children, he didn't find them cute. He didn't even have the interest to tease them. Lady Su had once said that she wanted Su-yu to get married and have children as soon as possible. At that time, Su-yu said that he did not believe in marriage and would not have any children. He hated those naughty people. Now, he took the initiative to say that he wanted to have a baby with the young nurse. Shaowen felt that his brain capacity was not enough. Boss, did someone cast a spell on you? I think we should find someone to take a look at you. Take a look. I'm fine. Alright, cut the crap. You can go out. I'm going to take a nap. Su-yu was in a good mood. After and left, he talked to Wei Liao and Tang Chuan in the group for a while before taking a good nap. At the on-call desk. Mian, why do I feel like young Master Su is interested in you? Another nurse looked at Hua-min with envy. That's impossible. We all know what kind of person Su-yu is. He's just teasing us because he's bored. We can't take it seriously. Mian, I think this is a good opportunity. If you have something to do with Su-yu, you don't have to be a nurse anymore. Look at those female celebrities at Imperial Star. Which one of them isn't worth tens of millions? Chapter 45-68. After hearing these sour words, Hua-min smiled slightly. He's worth tens of millions, it's fate. I'm just a commoner, I don't want so much. Mian, this is an opportunity for you. No, I'm a person who knows my place. Young Master Su, a big shot with a halo, is really not suitable for me. Huamin and her colleagues were just chatting, but they were speaking from the bottom of their hearts. Everyone loved money, but it also depended on what kind of money it was. Su Yu's family background was far inferior to Huamin's, not to mention that she was living with her stepfather and brother. So what if she returned to Hua Xinghai's side and was recognized as the daughter of the Hua family? Even if she was a socialite, she might not be happy if she married Su Yu. These rich second-generation heirs had been able to do whatever they wanted since they were young. To them, women were just accessories. It was probably faster than changing clothes. Huamin and Zhu Lingling were friends since they were young. Now that Lingling was a flight attendant, she could occasionally come into contact with the rich. A few of Lingling's colleagues married into good families. They weren't considered rich, but they were only worth tens of millions. What kind of life were they living after marriage? They were all people who lived by their mother-in-law and father-in-law's whims. If she didn't have money, it wouldn't be easy for her to marry into a rich family. When Huamin was an intern in the obstetrics and gynecology department at the first hospital, she had seen a rich young madam with her own eyes. When she gave birth, she wanted to perform a C-section because her belly was very big. It was obvious that the child wasn't small. However, her rich mother-in-law said that a normal birth was better for the child and didn't agree. She insisted on a normal birth, and didn't let the woman's husband sign the papers. In the end, the woman lost a lot of blood, and both the mother and child died. Then, the family came to the hospital to cause trouble and extorted 50 million yuan. What a jerk! After seeing through the fickleness of those rich people, Huamin didn't expect to find a rich husband. She only hoped to find someone who was nicer to her and her family. She wanted to live a peaceful life, so she didn't want to have anything to do with Su Yu. Su Yu's foot was almost healed, and he was not far from being discharged. Once Su Yu was discharged from the hospital, he would probably forget about her and never come back. Huamin didn't want to be delusional, therefore, in the face of everyone's jokes, he just laughed it off. Inside the ward, Su Yu was thinking about how to get in touch with Huamin more. But he didn't want to arouse her suspicion. After all, this little girl was too smart, they would be alerted to the slightest disturbance. Su Yu wouldn't tell her directly that he was another Su Yu from a parallel world and that in that world, he loved her so much that he couldn't help himself. That's why I transmigrated here to start anew with you. Let alone Huamin, no one would believe such words, right? After thinking about it, Su Yu decided to hide everything first, then, he would catch up with Huamin first. Recalling that in the other world, Su Yu had a high fever, and Huamin stayed with him for a while. Su Yu went to the bathroom to take a cold shower. When he came out, he was freezing. Not only that, he even took the opportunity to turn on the air conditioner. The cold wind was very strong. In an instant, a cold wind blew, and Su Yu kept sneezing. Achoo, achoo, boss, why are you turning on the air conditioner? What are you doing? When An came in, he saw Su Yu sitting on the bed with a blanket draped over his body. His hair was wet. He kept sneezing. I'm training my immune system. No way. You're courting death. If Madam sees this, she'll scold me to death. Don't do this, and was scared out of his wits when he saw his boss torturing him like this. Chapter 45-69. It's fine. Madam won't be able to see it because I've already called my mother and told her not to come over for the next few days. I have to deal with work at the hospital. Smart. And suddenly felt that his boss's brain had become much sharper after the car accident. So, what should we do now? And panicked when he saw how drenched his boss was. Go to Huamin and tell him that I have a fever. Miss Hua again. And shook his head helplessly. He didn't know what was wrong with his boss, but he fell for the nurse at Southside. Huamin had been on duty all night and was about to get off work when he packed up in the morning. And hurriedly ran over. Miss Hua. What's the matter? My boss has a fever. Go and take a look. I'm off work. But my boss has a fever, then you can go to another doctor and a nurse who's on duty. Huamin was extremely calm. After all, Siyu was a man, so it wasn't a big deal for him to have a fever. Boss doesn't want anyone else to give him an injection. He said that their skills aren't good enough. He only wants Miss Hua to do it. It's fine. The fever isn't that bad. There's no need for an injection. He just needs to take some fever medicine. Huamin continued to pack his things. He took off his white coat, put on his coat, and prepared to leave. My boss also said, if Miss Hua is willing to help him reduce his fever, he'll give you an extra 5,000 yuan for overtime. Of course, Siyu didn't say that. However, and felt that if he didn't say that, Miss Hua probably wouldn't go. As expected, Huamin stopped when he heard the 5,000 yuan for overtime. If that's the case, I'll go with you. After all, Suyu is my patient. It's not good to see him have a fever, right? And muttered behind Huamin. You make it sound nice, but isn't it all because of the 5,000 yuan for overtime? Although An had made the decision for the 5,000 yuan, he felt that his boss wouldn't blame him. With how obsessed his boss was with Miss Hua. Not only would his boss not blame him, but he would also reward him. In the end, Huamin arrived at Suyu's ward. However, she was wearing a casual outfit because it was almost time to get off work. Huamian's clothes weren't expensive, but each one of them was decent. At the very least, they suited her and were comfortable to look at. Do you have a fever? I feel. It's a little cold. Suyu was covered in a blanket. Check your temperature. Huamin took out a thermometer. Open your mouth, she said Suyu. Tst Huamian put it in and ordered, shut up. Take it out in 5 minutes. Tsts not to. Ttst would ttt. She took off her coat and hung it on the hanger. She placed her bag beside the bed and walked straight to the bathroom. And took the opportunity to come up to him and whispered, I told you, she'd only come if you gave her 5,000 yuan for overtime. Otherwise, she would have already gotten off work. Well done. Suyu was elated. And looked at her and realized that he had made the right move. Suyu took out her phone and secretly transferred 10,000 yuan to An, 5,000 yuan for me to give to Huamin later. That 5,000 yuan is your reward. Also, you can leave now. Come back when Huamin leaves. Don't be a third wheel here. An was speechless. It seemed like his boss was starting to dislike him. And walked out of the room with his phone. Huamin unscrewed the wet towel and glanced at Suyu. Lie down. Suyu obediently lay on the bed. Huamin placed the towel on his forehead. Dr. Hua, thank you. I'm not a doctor yet. I'm a nurse. You'll be a doctor sooner or later. No, you'll be the director sooner or later. Suyu smiled like a flower. Chapter 45-70. Thank you for your kind words. When I become the director, I'll waive your bill if you come for treatment. Pfft, what do you mean, Huamian? Why would I come for treatment? You jinx. Huamin laughed so hard that he couldn't straighten his back. Then, he looked at Suyu. Not bad, your brain isn't fried yet. You're not stupid. I'm smart. Why would I be stupid? Suyu looked at Huamin with disdain. Huamian skillfully pulled the thermometer back from Suyu's mouth before it was about to fall off. Then, she glanced at it. Wow, it's indeed amazing. It's already 38.5 degrees. What do you mean? Is that high? Suyu looked at her eagerly. Yeah, it's quite high. You have to take some fever medicine. Didn't they say that fever medicine hurts the kidneys? I don't want it. So, do you want to burn into a fool, or are you worried about your kidneys? Huamin crossed his arms and looked at this guy helplessly. He knew that he had a lot of girlfriends and even more rumored girlfriends. How could he be worried about his kidneys when he had a fever? Then I'll burn into a fool. After all, my kidneys are very important and must be protected. Suyu's cheeky smile was obviously teasing Huamin. Stop talking nonsense, take the medicine. Otherwise, I'll give you an injection. It'll stab your butt, do you want it? Huamin deliberately tried to scare him. No, I won't do it even if you beat me to death, so, injection or medicine, which one do you choose? Can't I get in 4? Suyu hated the medicine that he had to take in handfuls. It smelled so bad. And 4 is fine, but in your current state, you'll probably need 3 bottles to get your fever down. If you want medicine, a drop of suspension will be enough. Huamin spoke as if he was coaxing a child. Suyu was suddenly very touched. Huamian was a kind person. No matter what kind of patient she was with, she was very professional and patient. Sure enough, even if she wasn't Professor Lu's daughter, she wasn't that talented. However, she was still the woman that Suyu loved the most. His initial feelings had not changed. Even though he had transmigrated to 2 different worlds, it was all the same. The name Huamin was Suyu's lifelong belief. Ahem. I'll leave it to you then. I don't really understand either. Of course it's good to take medicine. The side effects are small and the effects are quick. Wait for me to get the medicine. Here's your money. Suyu picked up his wallet and was about to flip through the money. She suddenly thought of something and said with a smile, I don't have any cash. Add me on WeChat and I'll transfer the money to you. Huamin looked at her faintly and said, no need. I'll pay for it. Then, he turned around and left handsomely. Suyu, Huamin guessed that it was probably something that didn't cost much. Otherwise, he wouldn't have been so straightforward. However, her intentions were clear. Did she not want to add him on WeChat? Why was it so difficult? Suyu took out his phone and asked in Wei Liao and Tang Chuan's private group chat. Suyu, hey, you too. Tell me, how can I get a girl to add me on WeChat? Wei Liao, oh. You weren't rejected, were you? Tang Chuan, that can't be. Which girl here doesn't know Lord Su's name? If you take the initiative to ask for his WeChat, how many lifetimes of fortune would that girl have accumulated? How could she reject you? Suyu, ahem, she rejected you. Wei Liao, ha, I'm interested in her. I want to see what kind of woman can reject Suyu. Tang Chuan, that's right, that's right. Ha, I, Lord Su, am not an ordinary person. The name Suyu represents supreme power, money, status, and a prestigious temperament that many people don't have. Suyu, stop talking nonsense. Hurry up and think of a way. Suyu's domineering aura rose again. Wei Liao and Suyu in this parallel world were exactly the same as in that world. Therefore, Suyu really didn't have any grudges and treated them as good brothers. Chapter 45-71. Su Yu's incident seriously aroused Tang Chuan's gossipy nature. He was so excited that he stopped typing and started chatting through voice messages. Tang Chuan, Lord Su, let me tell you, there are many ways to get a girl's WeChat. For example, you can say, "Girl, my phone is out of battery. Can you lend it to me? I'll call my family and say that I miss them." Then, when you call, the girl will definitely avoid you. Can't you just secretly add yourself? Su Yu, Wei Liao, why don't you pretend that you're lost when you go out for a walk? Go to the place she frequents and ask her how to get back to the ward when she passes by. Then, no matter what she says, you don't understand anything. Just tell her to add me on WeChat and send me your location. I'll navigate back. Su Yu, is that stupid? Tang Chuan, ha, it is stupid. Wei Liao, aren't you asking a stupid question? Su Yu, fuck. You two are messing with me. The ship of friendship is gone. Su Yu was so angry that he stopped chatting with them. He felt that he had two immoral brothers who would tease him from time to time. After he put down his phone, Huamin happened to come back. She was holding the medicine in her hand. This method is very simple. You just have to take the first drop out. Then, if you feel that the taste is strange, you can drink some water. Su Yu took the medicine from Huamin. He did not dare to touch her hand, but when he held the small medicine bottle, he could feel the warmth from Huamin's palm. Under Huamin's gaze, Su Yu obediently drank the medicine and 2 mouthfuls of water. Then, he lay down. Although his body was still burning up, Su Yu felt very sweet and happy in his heart. He had to admit that staying in this parallel world for the rest of his life was the happiest thing. After taking the medicine, Huamin did not leave. She was probably afraid that Su Yu would feel uncomfortable, so she sat down on the chair next to him. She took out her phone and connected to the hospital's wireless network. Then, she turned on the video and watched the drama very seriously. While Huamin was watching the drama, Su Yu was sneaking glances at her. When she looked over, Su Yu pretended to play with his phone. After about 10 minutes, the room was very quiet. There was no noise at all. Huamin was wearing headphones. Su Yu couldn't help but put down his phone. "I say, what kind of TV show are you watching?" "A Descendant of the Sun," Huamin said. Su Yu had never watched this drama before. As a tough guy, he basically did not watch Korean dramas. But he would occasionally take a look at Train to Busan. Su Yu was a hardcore fan of Marvel, so he liked Spider-Man, Iron Man, Hulk, and Captain America. When he went to the cinema, he would only watch Marvel's hero series. He did not understand this Descendant of the Sun at all. However, he would not criticize his girlfriend for watching brainless dramas like other men. After all, everyone had their own preferences and rights. Especially this Descendant of the Sun. In another parallel world, when she first met Huamin, Huamin was also watching this drama. She seemed to be very obsessed with the male lead, a Korean star named Song Joong-ki. Su Yu suddenly felt very emotional and touched. He also understood that this parallel world was 5 years in the other world. It was the place where Su Yu met Huamin. It was the place where Su Yu's dream began. "What's wrong? Do you feel uncomfortable?" Huamin carefully saw that Su Yu's eyes were a little red. "My eyes are a little uncomfortable. Can you help me blow on them?" Su Yu wanted to hide his excitement, but he accidentally used the most old-fashioned way to flirt. However, Huamin believed him. Chapter 45-72. Because she saw that Su Yu's eyes were red. She thought that he really wasn't feeling well. Therefore, Huamin put down her phone, stood up, and walked over to Suyu. She was very close to him. Suyu suddenly felt his heart race. It was a sense of nervousness. Huamin gently lifted Suyu's eyelids, and took a look. It was indeed a little red. Are there eyelashes inside? Suyu asked with a smile. No, it's probably some solidified dust or something. After speaking, Huamin blew on his eyelids seriously. Suyu felt the familiar scent of her body wash over him. He felt extremely happy. After blowing on his eyelids a few times, Huamin stood up. I'll talk to the head nurse about this ward later and ask her to get someone to clean it up and disinfect it properly. Don't worry. Emisham, I'm not worried. You're going to be discharged soon, right? Huamin asked casually. I don't want to be discharged. Why? Huamin was surprised. Suyu was probably one of the weirdest patients in the hospital. Many patients became irritated after a few days and clamored to go home. However, Suyu actually didn't want to go back. What was going on? Because you're here. Huamin was stunned again when she heard this. Then, her face turned slightly red, even though she knew that Suyu was a man who was very popular with women and was a playboy. He still said it so directly to her face. Huamin was still embarrassed. When Ning Ziyuan pursued her in university, he only cared about her silently. He accompanied her to the study room and accompanied her to the cafeteria. That was why she was gradually moved. However, Ning Ziyuan would never say something so direct. Therefore, Huamin was suddenly a little uncomfortable. You're blushing. Ha! Suyu was in a good mood. Huamin put on his headphones and lowered his head to continue watching the TV series. Then, she suddenly said, Do you know the consequences of flirting with a nurse? I don't know. It's best if you don't know. If you know, I'm afraid you'll be traumatized. Ha, you're trying to scare me. Do you think I grew up scared? Suyu laughed. Huamin took off one of his headphones and glanced at Suyu. Since you're so brave, there's a ward next to the morgue. Do you want to move there? Suyu was left speechless by Huamin's rebuke. However, he felt extremely happy to be rebuked by Huamin. 30 minutes. Huamin looked at his watch. When he felt that it was about time, he put his phone away. Then, he touched Suyu's head and found that his fever had subsided. Then, he inserted the thermometer into Suyu's body again. Let's try again. If the fever subsides, you can sleep peacefully for a while. Thank you, Mian. Suyu said it very smoothly. It didn't feel awkward or out of place at all. However, Huamin felt awkward when he heard it. All these years, other than her parents and brother, very few people called her Mian. Ning Ziyuan basically called her Huamin Jr. However, Huamin always felt that Suyu was very familiar with him, as if he had known him for a long time. According to the books, some people feel déjà vu the moment they meet. Huamin probably felt that way, although he didn't know why. However, he felt very comfortable and familiar with Suyu. Although they would argue with each other, it was all a joke. Are you stupid? What are you thinking about? Seeing that Huamin was stunned, Suyu stretched out 5 fingers and waved them in front of her. Only then did Huamin come back to his senses. He realized that he had been distracted for a moment and was still a little scared. Suyu, have we met before? Huamin asked him. Why do you ask? Because I feel like, you look a little familiar. Huamin tilted his head and looked at Suyu seriously.
Chapter 45-73. When Suyu and Huamin looked at each other, their eyes seemed to freeze for a moment. He had 1,000 words to say, but he couldn't seem to say them. In the end, Suyu smiled. Is that how it feels? Meeting you for the first time is like meeting an old friend. Huamin actually nodded slightly. I think, it's probably because, the two of us were fated in our previous lives. I feel that you must have owed me a lot in your previous life, to make up for it in this life. What did I owe you? Huamin was serious. You owe me money, probably. If you pay me back now, I don't mind. Huamin was speechless. Suyu, you're shameless. You're a super rich man. How can you extort a nurse with a salary of 4,000 yuan a month? Do you have any morals? I have to pay back what I owe. Suyu continued to tease her. Then I'll burn gold ingots to pay you back. Huamin was also sharp-tongued. Fuck. Suyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. This girl's personality hadn't changed. At this moment, Huamin thought of something and took out the thermometer from Suyu's mouth. Then, he smiled slightly. Your temperature is normal, your fever is gone, that's great. Okay, after I leave, if you still feel a headache, put the thermometer in your mouth and continue to check your temperature. If you have a high fever, you'll have to take this medicine. Because if it's the viral flu, you might have a recurring fever. You have to be careful. Okay. Then I'll leave first. Don't. You've been busy so late and haven't eaten. No, I'm on a diet. What's there to lose? It's like pork ribs. No, you have to eat something with me before you leave. Do you have anything to eat here? It's so late. If I order takeout, it'll be delivered very late. I won't wait. Huamin got up and put on his coat. He was about to leave. It was already 9:30 p.m. It was indeed quite late. Most of the patients had already gone to bed. It's fine. Isn't there a kitchen in this VIP ward? Don't tell me you want me to cook for you. I'm exhausted. I'd rather not eat and go home to sleep. Huamin looked at Suyu and asked nervously. I'll make it for you. Give me some time. After that, Suyu got out of bed and went straight to the kitchen. Huamin looked at Suyu's back in shock as he jogged away. This guy's physical fitness is not bad. He's already so lively even though his fever has just subsided. Suyu saw that Suyu had good intentions, so he didn't leave. He sat down and continued watching the TV series. About 30 minutes later, Suyu brought out the finished dishes one by one. There was actually freshly cooked rice, and the rice was placed on an exquisite plate. Next to it was a broccoli and a piece of abalone. This, abalone with rice, don't worry. The abalone is fresh. My mom sent someone to deliver it this morning. It's been in the fridge. Then, before Huamin could say anything, Suyu rushed into the kitchen.
He brought out spicy codfish and a plate of steamed crabs. Then, there was mustard fungus and a stir-fried ham with cucumber slices. There were 4 dishes and 2 servings of rice with abalone. This wasn't a casual meal. The cost of this meal was extremely high. Suyu's food had to be fresh every day, so the Su family would send someone to deliver ingredients every morning. The hairy crabs were very big. Huamin once saw them on an online store. A crab of this size cost 3,000 yuan. Suyu steamed 4 of them at once. That was 12,000 yuan. A dish cost more than 10,000 yuan. He wasn't eating food, he was eating money. You're making too much of a fuss, Huamin said. Let's eat. I'm starving. After speaking, Suyu immediately picked up a hairy crab and placed it in front of Huamin. How did you know I love crabs? You love all kinds of seafood, right? Suyu asked with a smile. How did you know? Huamin looked at him warily. Chapter 45-74. I'm confused. Ha ha ha. Then, Suyu revealed a harmless smile. Hwa-mian was stunned by what she saw. She even felt that Suyu was in a good mood every time he was with her. As for the specific reason, she didn't know why. Could it be that this playboy was just trying to flirt with her? Hwa-min was confused, and completely confused. She slowly ate with Suyu. Suyu didn't eat much himself. He kept putting food in Hwa-min's bowl. Hwa-min had been busy for half the night and was indeed hungry. Therefore, he didn't pretend and just ate as much as he wanted. He ate a lot of prawns and crabs and felt that he hadn't eaten so much in a long time. Due to the drastic changes in the seasons in the north, seafood was often extremely expensive. Other than during the New Year, the family basically didn't buy it. Her mother, young Mayorong, was very good at housekeeping. She would try her best to cook some home-cooked dishes for her and Jishin. However, the seafood he ate today was different from usual. She heard that Suyu's food was all shipped by air, and the shipping fee was shockingly high. However, Lady Su didn't even frown. It was obvious how much Lady Su loved her son. What are you thinking about? Suyu asked her. I'm thinking, your mother is so good to you. Of course, my mother has doted on me since I was young. Suyu was proud. Are you also a scary mommy's boy? Hwa-min looked at him seriously. Suyu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Beauty Hwa, please listen carefully. Although my mother is good to me, it's completely a normal mother's concern for her child. What are you thinking? A mommy's boy. If I were a mommy's boy, wouldn't my mother be in charge of the company and I'm in charge of eating, drinking, and playing? But the truth is, my mother is just a housewife. She doesn't participate in any of our companies. She's only responsible for our daily lives. She's a very virtuous woman, and she wouldn't raise me into a mommy's boy. I joined the army when I was a teenager, and I was even in the special forces. Do you think I'm a mommy's boy? Hwa-min only asked one question, but Suyu was about to jump. Finally, she smiled. What are you smiling about? You don't believe me? No, I'm just laughing. Why are you explaining to us so seriously? We're not friends. Hwa-min's simple words, but they pierced Su's heart. In the other world, Mion seemed to have said the same thing, but Suyu only felt a stabbing pain in his heart, and it was extremely uncomfortable. Now that the same feeling struck him again, Suyu wasn't even in the mood to eat. He silently put down his chopsticks. Hwa-min noticed his abnormality and quickly asked, "What's wrong? Why did you say something so hurtful?" Suyu looked at her. Hwa-min, I thought we knew each other, at least as friends. I didn't think, you didn't treat me as a friend. I feel like a fool who thinks too highly of himself. Seeing Suyu's lonely expression, Hwa-min couldn't bear to see him like this. No, Suyu, don't misunderstand, that's not what I meant, Hwa-min quickly explained. Then what did you mean? What I meant was, your family background and status are so prominent, your friends are all rich and powerful. How can I be your friend? Hwa-min lowered her voice, feeling guilty. If I can make you rich, then you can be my friend, right? Suyu suddenly had an idea. How? Hwa-min looked at Suyu with chopsticks in her mouth. Marry me, and you'll be the daughter-in-law of the Su family. Fuck you, you're not talking seriously. Hwa-min lowered her head and ignored Suyu, quietly eating her seafood. Chapter 45-75. I'm telling the truth. Suyu desperately wanted to express her feelings. What are you talking about? You just had a fever. Sleep early. I'm leaving. Huamin stopped eating and got up to put on his clothes. You're leaving so soon. What else can I do? Do I have to stay here? Then I have to tell them to add an extra bed. Otherwise, I won't be able to sleep in a single bed. Suyu, don't think that I won't beat you up just because you're sick. Do you understand? Huamin raised her fist and threatened him. You're welcome to beat me up, but I put a lot of money into my insurance company. If you get hurt anywhere, you'll have to pay hundreds of millions in compensation. Think about it, you can sell your house, your land, and your furniture. Then, your family of 4 will work for our company for the rest of your life and see if you can pay it back. If you can't, you can let your kids pay it back. I don't mind waiting for a long time. Damn it. You're Huang Shiren. You're a black-hearted Zhou, but I have a good idea. If you marry me, you'll be my wife and your kids will be my kids. This way, we'll call it even. After you marry me, you can beat me up however you want. I won't say a word. Suyu took the opportunity to confess again. However, in Huamian's eyes, her confession was nothing more than flirting. After all, she had only known Suyu for a few days. Okay, you're good at talking. I'm tired. I'm going to go home and sleep. I have a morning meeting tomorrow. Okay, I'll ask my assistant to drive you home. No, I'll rent a car and leave. Huamin waved her hand. No, it's too late. It's not safe. Just listen to me. If I don't feel safe, I'll drive you home myself. Don't. Just lie down. Your leg is injured. Then I'll ask my assistant to drive you home. Suyu asked her. Okay. Unable to dissuade Suyu, Huamin had to get in Anne's car. And drove a black Lamborghini 6th Element. It was said that this car was Suyu's favorite. Those female celebrities, including Zhao Qingya who had been in the limelight a while ago, were not qualified. Because of Suyu's eccentricity, this was also the first time the 6th elemental sat on a woman. If it weren't for the fact that Suyu's legs were really inconvenient, he would have driven them himself. How could it be Xiao An's turn? Huamin sat in the front passenger seat and fastened his seatbelt. After it got into the car, he didn't start the engine. Instead, he said to Huamin, Miss Hua, this money is for you. What money? Huamin was slightly startled. The 5,000 yuan overtime pay that I promised you, forget it, I really didn't come for the 5,000 yuan. If I wasn't in the right mood, I wouldn't have come even if you gave me 50,000 yuan. Your boss might be the most despicable and immoral person, but I can tell that he doesn't have any bad intentions. His high fever is real, and it's not a big deal for me. I don't want this money. That won't do, Miss Hua. If you don't accept this money, I won't be able to explain it to my boss. And looked troubled. It's okay, just accept it. I won't tell Suyu. Just take it that I've accepted it. Hurry up and drive, okay? I'm really sleepy, okay. And didn't know what to do, but he still didn't give her the money. Previously, he thought that Huamin was a realistic woman who would work as long as she was paid. She wasn't a good person. However, from the looks of it, she was a very reliable person and wasn't greedy for money. And subconsciously felt a sense of respect for her. When Suyu returned from driving Huamin, he threw 5,000 yuan in cash at his boss's bedside. What do you mean, Masterin? Are you hiring me to be your assistant? Suyu teased him on purpose. No, boss, it's the 5,000 yuan that Miss Hua confiscated. Mian didn't confiscate it. Why? Suyu was stunned. Chapter 4576. Xiaowen nodded, then explained the entire situation to Lin Yun. If it was any other assistant, he might not have said anything. After all, Huamin wouldn't say anything either. Suyu didn't know where the 5,000 yuan went, but An had been with Suyu for several years. They were very close. Although they were master and servant on the surface, they were actually brothers. After An said this, Suyu's face turned cold. Boss, don't be angry. I'll stuff it in Miss Hua's pocket tomorrow. No, I just think you're very stupid. So stupid that it's scary. And, ? Why did you have to give her cash? Couldn't you have forwarded it on WeChat and added her WeChat? Could I still use your WeChat to chat with her, and, do you remember her address? And shook his head. I really want to slap you to death. Idiot. So you didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Although An was reliable, he wasn't very smart. Therefore, he would only do his job well and not think about anything else. And was so scared that he didn't dare to say anything. You can keep the 5,000 yuan. I already have 5,000 yuan, boss. I'll give you the 5,000 yuan too. Mian doesn't care about it anyway. You can be willful when you're rich. By the way, have you been playing Shake Shake recently? Yeah, how did you know? And looked at Suyu in confusion. Boss, you didn't peek at my phone, did you? This is my privacy. Do I still have human rights? Xiaowen also knew that he was anxious. Am I such a tasteless person? Look at your WeChat moments. What's all of them? And silently took out his phone and opened his WeChat moments. They were all forwarded things. Some were about health, some were news, and even more ruthlessly, he didn't forward things that weren't from China. Most of them were domestic disputes about the South China Sea and the Diaoyu Islands. And was also from the army, so it was good to be a patriotic person. However, these were all his WeChat moments. It was indeed a little monotonous. After hearing Suyu's words, An felt guilty and didn't dare to say anything. Let me tell you. Don't pay attention to Shake Shake or the people nearby on WeChat. Alright. If I find out that you're disobedient, you can go home. Don't be my assistant here, Suyu said seriously. That's so serious. I don't think so. I'm in my 20s, and I want to find a girlfriend too. I don't want to be a single dog for the rest of my life. The boss only needs to set fire to himself and forbid the common people from lighting candles. How overbearing. Fuck, that's not the case at all, okay? I'm doing this for your own good. Just listen to me. Alright. Even though he was unwilling, he still listened to what Lin Feng said. In fact, Suyu didn't reject the idea of using WeChat to chat with the people nearby. After all, there were some good ones. But in the other world, Xiaowen had suffered such a loss. He had been cheated out of a lot of things by an innocent-looking girl. Perhaps that girl had figured out his background and knew that he was Suyu's assistant. She kept flirting with him. Later, they even talked about marriage, but she still ran away and took away a lot of Anne's hard-earned money. And was really willing to spend money on his girlfriend. Moreover, Suyu didn't mistreat him. Anne's income was already more than 20,000 yuan. In a city like the north, 20,000 yuan a month was already very impressive. Moreover, Suyu would buy him clothes and shoes from time to time and even give him pocket money. Therefore, An knew that his boss was a loyal person. Suyu glanced at An and knew that he wasn't convinced. Then, he said, leave your wife to me. I'll definitely find you a good wife. When you get married, I'll pay for the house, car, and banquet. Chapter 45-77. Thank you, boss. And was a little excited. Although Suyu had always treated him well, there was no reason for him to take care of the entire banquet. Today's words are so blatant. Suyu's tone was still so firm, but when he heard his boss say that, his heart warmed. It's getting late. You can go next door and sleep. I need to rest too. Okay, boss. You can rest first. And left the ward. Before he left, he didn't forget to give the boss a peach. Although he didn't peel it clearly, he was reminding Suyu to eat some fruit out of goodwill. Suyu didn't like sweet things, but he wanted to eat it today. It hadn't been long since he transmigrated, but his relationship with Mion had developed so quickly. He was confident that if the records were true, he was confident that he could open up Hwamin's heart. After all, everyone's heart was made of flesh, and no one had a heart of stone. At this thought, Suyu limped down the stairs. He took the peach to peel it. When he came back, he lay on the bed and ate the peach happily. As he ate, he actually felt blissful. He felt that the peach was very delicious. After eating a peach, he played with his phone for a while. Suyu felt tired, then, he leaned against the headboard and fell asleep unknowingly. In a daze, he seemed to have seen Master Wu. Master Wu was still dressed in a green robe, sitting cross-legged in a beautiful place. Suyu even felt like he could smell the fresh air. You're here. Master Wu smiled. Master. It's so good to see you again, Master Wu smiled. Don't smile. Really? I feel very close to you when I see you. This isn't a dream. I'm talking to you in a dream. When we wake up, we'll both remember the contents of the dream. Master, you're so powerful that you can travel through 2 worlds to find me. Suyu was surprised. The red string on your hand helped me a lot. I made it myself. How could I not find it? Suyu subconsciously looked at the red string on his wrist. Ever since he came back, he had been looking at it like a precious treasure, afraid that someone would touch it. Little donkey, how have you been recently? Very good. I've never felt so relaxed in my life. I'm happy. Suyu grinned. It was obvious that he was really, really happy. Then, do you have plans to go back? Go back. Master Wu's words stunned Suyu. He was not prepared for this. Although I can't do it now, I've already toured the country. I heard that there's an expert on Mount Jiuhua. I want to give it a try. I think there's a great chance. Didn't my physical body get cremated? How am I supposed to go back? You can reincarnate and return to the Su family. Forget it, forget it. My mother is already so old and her health isn't very good. I don't want to torture her like that. Then I'll find you a new host, one who looks and is similar to you. No, that wouldn't be me, Suyu. Don't find excuses. I feel like you don't want to go back. With just a few words, Master Wu saw through Suyu's thoughts. Suyu chuckled. Master, to be honest, I'm doing very well in this parallel world. I hope I can stay here for the rest of my life. I don't want to go back. Even if my physical body is still here, I don't want to go back. I don't want to be sandwiched between Mion and Chin Chu. Their family is already very happy. By the way, Mion's child is born, right? Yes, it's a brat called Qin Yuyao. It has the same pronunciation as mine. What a good name. This child is lucky. Yes, so what about you? Do you have any other wishes? I will try my best to help you. Master Wu felt very guilty. Although he had only known Suyu for a short time, he still had a deep relationship with him, especially after seeing what Suyu had done for everyone. Master, I really do have an unfulfilled wish. Suyu approached Master Wu and said word by word, "You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure."